just going to start, because I can go back and edit.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm just, like, the first episode, we just kind of came in and hung out. And this is what's going to be a bitch is if I hit that. We came in and hung out, and I had, like, 2.5 hours of conversation. So, like, I literally picked out, like, 10 minutes of what we did for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And made 2 episodes out of it with...
How long did that take?
The editing takes a while because I gotta, like, listen through. It's kind of nice, though. Like, I'll just kind of do it while I'm just hanging out. I can kind of listen to it more in detail, like, the first couple times, and then as I go through, I'm mostly just trying to hear for, like, the transitions, if there's a lot of breaks. It just depends. The one with Dan was pretty easy because, I mean, we didn't have a lot of breaks. It was just kind of getting straight to the point.
Yeah. That's what it seemed like. Well, from the first one.
And then I got some feedback from people about, like, on one of the first ones, they just felt like it just stopped. And it was, like, pretty abrupt, and they were like, all right.
Who?
So one of my clients who listened in. And so I was like, okay, like, I'll do a better job with, like...
I mean, I feel like the first few are about.
Yeah,
it's like,
doing them is the whole thing. And, like, it is fun. So, like, getting more feedback has been nice because then I can kind of
start to tailor
get in my head, or get in the head of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was just like, oh, like, I've been trying to set it up to where it's like, all right, like, here's kind of what we went through, and then, like, next week, this is what we'll talk about. And trying to get, like, really consistent about every Sunday putting one out so that people kind of know when. And it's a lot of the marketing stuff. Like, Mike Robertson talks about it, Pat Rigsby, they do a lot of letters. Like, I think he does it one a day. Like, Pat Rigsby.
Really?
Yeah. He's got, like, thousands
email
and thousands
blasts,
of... Yeah. And he's got a message, like, every day. It's like... I don't want to do that.
I can't imagine how busy someone like that would be. Because I think about writing a letter a day. There's no way.
I know. I guess you get better at it as you go.
Yeah. I guess we could have themes.
Especially early, like, I think I spent a lot more time early on because I'm, like, trying to figure out some systems and make sure things sound okay. Like, I don't know. I don't want it to be, like, super shitty and then be like, oh, I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah.
But then again, I feel like this early on, it's cool that just, like, I think there's been a total of, like, 18 people who have listened to the entirety of any episode as the estimated audience they give me on Anchor, which is cool.
I'll have to Google though.
Nah, that was interesting.
I looked it up. Like, the other one that popped up, the first Josh Bond, was The Moth. It said, like...
The Moth?
Yeah. And for a second, I thought it said Sloth, and I was like, what? You have a website? Sloth website?
Let's see. Analytics. That doesn't really tell me. Apparently, there's been a person from Romania and a person from Canada. Just funny.
To both of them? Or 3 of them?
What's that?
Episodes?
It doesn't tell me specifically.
Oh.
Maybe it was the analytics from there that told me which platform people were listening from. But, yeah, anyway, that is kind of interesting that you just Googled it. I didn't even think that some people would do that. I thought they were just going right to the Instagram, because that's mostly where I've been, like, putting information about it. It's like, just go to the bio and click the link.
Does that bring you to Anchor?
Yeah, so, like, I'll put, like, a description or something about what's going on, and then, like, if people go back to my homepage, you can click on the latest episode, and then it brings you to the Anchor version of it. Oh, that's great. So everybody's, like, not able to watch it. What? Well,
probably would have had 100,000 by now.
I know. I would. No wonder. That's weird. Maybe I shouldn't do the specific episode. Maybe I should just get the link to the podcast.
Yeah.
I think I can do that here. Copy link. But it's been fun. I mean, literally just chatting with people. Like, it's not even... It's trying to get people to chill out a little bit, though. Like, when Dan I was telling Connor this felt a little bit rushed because he came in and, like, he needed to get the dinner. Like, we didn't really just, like, hang out. It was, like, I felt like right away I was trying to ask him questions, and it was definitely a little bit, it felt more awkward for me.
Yeah.
Doing it, like, kind of rushed like that. I mean, that's not really how most conversations are going with people. I mean,
Yeah.
Our conversations are usually in passing, right? We only have like 5 minutes, and it's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of information, but we're like sharing a lot of information, but it comes in like really quick little spurts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's been super interesting to get like more of a background on. There we go. Now you can get to something that at least looks like a podcast. I'm just gonna leave it like that.
Get it.
Been trying to like kind of get to know just people's experience. Like a couple goals for the podcast is like one, trying to get trainers to understand like the path that they could potentially be going down, right? Like people who are still interested. I feel like the first couple of years, like off and on, I'm like, do I want to do this? Like this is like a grind. That's kind of what Connor's going through a little bit, like as he's growing his client base. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, especially as you like raise your rate, get into more like the group training. But like trying to figure out more about like how to keep people in the health industry and then where they go. So a couple of the guys that have worked with us, they are doing other stuff. One guy, Sean Cornell, who I will talk to next week, is now in like a blue collar business where they,
really? Wasn't
they
he training. I thought he was training like corporate wellness or something.
I think it's kind of like that, and it started off with like his interest in wanting to train or go into like blue collar places and then like educate and like potentially help them with movement based stuff.
So he's still
like
doing
FMS.
That though.
Well, that's what I'm gonna find out.
Oh, okay.
I know that's where it started.
I'm interested already.
From what Nate was telling me, he had talked to him not too long ago, and he'd gotten more into like administrative work and like doing presentations to like for the product versus like the execution of putting the product into play. Maybe I don't know, because they do go in and like FMS all of them, and then they have like a 15 or 20 minute like warm up, I guess, before they. I mean, this is why I'm gonna
before they go to work.
I don't remember. Yeah, it was like freaking 4 years ago or something. So
my cousin and a bunch of people in my family work for the shipyard in Bremerton, and that was one of the things that they do is they'll like go through stretches and stuff in the morning, and they have people lead it,
move like a little bit.
And I know when one of my cousins, so they go to Japan quite a bit to work there for the shipyard, and there they do it like pretty religiously, like
in Japan.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's like rules around it, but it's like you kind of had to do it to start working. Maybe I'm wrong.
But like testing you out, making sure you're like loosened up. Well, I know he was doing a lot of tracking because he was telling me they would do FMS. He would knock out just something simple like a corrective for like breathing, and then they would retest. And it was a lot so that they have ways to prove that they're effective. And they can get insurance to pay for it. Like the more information they have, the better. But that's hard.
Yeah. That's cool though.
Yeah, so it sounded like it was going really well, and I think he's just been super busy. I think he's kind of progressing into that career. I don't know. You're going to find out.
Yeah.
But I'm interested because, like, where do people go if they do leave personal training? Like, a lot of people out firefighting, police.
Yeah.
Like, not even in the industry, but corporate wellness has been a big thing. Lots of people do a couple of corporate places. Companies that are starting to integrate their own training. That's like Valve. They have trainers there who they pay to come in like on contract.
Wait, who?
Valve is like they run Steam. It's like gaming.
Oh.
Software.
Okay. Is that kind of what Chris?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And Lisa.
Yeah.
And then there's been people to go to more of that route of like coaching, like the nutrition for like corporate stuff. Like they work for a company who does the corporate wellness for some other corporation, and they just take on like appointments via Skype to help people with like lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, I think
I don't know. There's a lot of different things. I don't know how much I want to do that all day though.
No, I think
a blend of it might be interesting.
That would be what I would think if I could get like a good amount online, and then
just like the flexibility of it too.
Yeah,
right?
And then be able to still train people because that's the most fun.
Absolutely,
it's train people one-on-one, and then you could kind of narrow down who you're training. Like
I think more of the in-person stuff is more about now narrowing down how many hours I think I can work and still be able to like do my own lifts.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're on your feet 10 hours a day,
and that was
clients, it's like fuck.
It was cool. I thought that they're kind of addressed it at Pro Club.
They started
about work, like doing 2-on-1, 3-on-1s, things like that, which is smart.
That was really good. I mean, I wish they would have done that a lot earlier, but to be honest, the gym isn't really set up that way. They're trying to.
Yeah, Willow's is.
They're trying to make it more that way. Like, no, Carl and Josh have done a really good job. Like, since I've been there, like the culture's definitely shifted, and it seems like the things that they're doing are more in our favor, which makes it harder to leave.
Yeah, it's hard to find anything else that is.
All the education, just like the environment, like the people you get to work with, like, you know, I think about that and taking other work as I'm like learning about what other people are doing. If I ever decided to move on from Pro Club, like, I don't know, I have a lot of friends there. Like, my days are like not stressful. Like, my clients are cool. Like, our clients are really awesome. I was talking to Connor about even some of the clients he's had early on. That it's just it's a really cool place to continue learning. Like, you just freaking learn and learn and learn. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be hard time-wise to give up, like, being really in control of your own schedule.
That too. I mean, I'd say
especially
long weekends,
once you're there a couple of years, like, and you can.
Well, this time of year, I'm like, you know, most people are kind of getting in the grind, getting back to work after the holidays, and like I work a lot, and I'm in the same way. Like, I'm not doing a bunch of stuff. It's shitty outside. I'm not trying to be out there. I probably should, but. That's just kind of the nature of. I mean, go outside. Yeah. Like, there's nobody. Like, I've lived in this neighborhood for a long time. That's why you like to go outside.
Yeah, that's why I like running with Oprah this time, because there's nobody out there.
Nobody.
Well, she's always getting distracted by stuff, by dogs. So
I know.
It's nice.
There's a lot of kids in this area, because I'll see them walk in groups from one house to the next house.
What are they doing?
But they never play outside. And I'm like, it's so. There's a park.
Sprint to the next
like
house.
Really a nice park down behind where we used to live over here. I mean, it's.
But there's nobody there.
Probably like a 5-minute walk. I mean, sometimes there'll be like a parent with a kid because they have like. It's like a huge grass park. They have a basketball hoop up at the top, just like a half court, and then a bunch of toys and like really nice playground.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's like a parent with a child, but rare. One time I went back there, I was just going for a walk, and I kind of go out here, and I know there's paths back there by that park, and I went to take this trail, and it just didn't look like it really went anywhere, but I was like, oh, I'll go see like how far it goes. And I looked behind me, and I saw 2 kids walking towards the basketball hoops, and I was like, okay, whatever. I come back. I got stuck. I didn't go any further. I came back and they weren't there. And I was like, well, they must have found another trail. And so I walked over there, and not like 50 yards in there, and they're like smoking pot out of this like huge bong. And they're like, they look really scared. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what are you doing? You're asking me. I was like, I'm trying to find a trail. And they were like,
oh, no, none over here.
And then once I was like nice about it, I was like, I don't care. That seems like a great spot to go. I think they're high school, like 17, 18. It's like, I don't really care. Like,
and like, this is making you not want to go outside. It seems like.
And they were like, oh, well, do you want some? I was like, no. I'm
They
cool.
offered you
they offered me some. I was like, no, I'm cool. I just don't know what you kids are smoking these days.
It's probably laced with something.
Yeah, these kids are crazy. Probably. But they were telling me, too, that they go back there a lot, apparently. They, like, knew... I was like, well, where am I going? And they're like, well, if you go too far, you go to the power plant. If you go down the stream, I'm like...
They just draw a map of all the pot smoking places. Not here, not here, not here.
Yeah, just stay away from there. They were saying the neighbors from, like, above them, where the park is, there's, like, a fence in the neighborhood. They were, like, calling the cops, and, like, they had the flashlights out, because they could hear people back there. I think they were there at night. And I'm like, how do you hear people back there? Like, what are you doing? I don't know. Anyway. Fucking stoner kids.
Damn stoners.
It's pretty funny. Super nice kids.
Offered you some pot. That's nice. Sharing.
Yeah. There was a couple other books that I had related to talking about leadership and mindset, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, so we'll go back to the question that you had at the beginning was basically how you can say it again, like how you talk to people.
Yeah. What is? I want to know your approach for meeting a new client in your Get Started, and what either information you're trying to get or how you want that interaction to go.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of practice because people are so different and kind of changing your approach on the fly. But I would say, like, the most important thing is trying to figure out what's important to them and, like, why they're here in the first place. And if it's going to be something where I think that, you know, they'll have long-term success. I mean, I have people that come in and they're like, well, I'm here because my wife told me to lose 10 pounds. It's like, I don't know how far we're going to get with, like, you wanting to make change towards yourself.
Yeah, so then I would want to know, what would you say if somebody said that? Like, how deep do you go in the first session?
I think it's important for me not to get more committed than they are, because then I'll get upset.
I think when I first started, I was like, it was 100% commitment for me.
Oh, I know.
And like for a lot of people, it was like, it was a free session basically.
I know.
And I'm like
so
giving them this whole plan. Like they're like, I don't.
You're like going in super elaborate detail about their life and like how they're gonna break up everything.
Yeah.
And like, it's.
And they're
like if you just do this, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So I think one of the bigger things. So I think you hit it on the head there. For me, is like, I used to do that. It was I would get super into making these things, these plans, and it almost didn't matter. Like,
yeah, and that's super
because
frustrating, right?
They didn't want to do it, really.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out, like, even with a person like that, I'm willing to work with them if they're willing to commit the time to actually coming in. Usually a minimum twice a week for me now. Mm-hmm. If they want to try and go once a week, I basically try and sell them on coming up with a plan and following a program to keep them on track. Like, if you really want to do this, like, to commit, right? Like,
yeah.
And honestly, I've had more people just not start training because I've organized it that way. I got a guy recently.
Yeah. He
wanted to go once a week, and but he didn't want the program to come along with it. And I was like, I don't think we're gonna have the progress that he wanted to change body composition, like build muscle, and I mean, we're talking about nutrition. We're talking about, I mean.
So he was saying he wanted all these things, but
I just didn't think the commitment was there.
Yeah, so
especially early on. It's like I think you need more time being instructed by a coach if you really want to make a change in something particular. And early on is so important, that foundation. So.
And how did you? So would you tell that to somebody who's first starting?
To do that,
like a trainer, like a trainer that's just starting.
I think when you're first starting. Like, it took a lot of experience to finally get to the point where I made up my mind that's what I was going to do to filter out people who weren't serious.
Yeah.
But early on, I mean, I think it's just good practice. I mean, sometimes people surprise you too. Like, I've had guys that started once a week and then realized they weren't getting the progress that they wanted, and then they started going twice a week. And so, you know, that's a potential too. I think it just depends on where you're at in your career. Probably early on, just taking whatever you can get and like doing the best you can. And then when it's something that, you know, being a mentor, I've had an issue with a couple of the people that I'm mentoring. Their clients like aren't super committed, and they're like the once a week kind of person who's not making progress. And they're like, well, what do I do? Like, I really don't want to train them. And I'm like, you shouldn't. Ask for more commitment from them, or, you know, just give them options and like give them time to process it. You know, it doesn't have to be so blunt. And like, you know, for a lot of people it's like, hey, by this time my schedule's shifting to this, and like, I don't know, there's a lot of different ways to go about those conversations. I think it depends.
Yeah,
I think I've gone a little ways away from like the initial question of like, what am I doing with the person on the first day?
Yeah.
So trying to figure out what is the most important thing to them, or like what is important and why they're there. Trying to figure out like the expectations in their head about what they think should be happening with, you know, having a coach. And then we go into nutrition. stress, sleep, like, eventually I want to cover like all those things and get an idea of where they're at.
Yeah.
And then once you know where they're at, you can kind of start to meet. That's what I liked about the precision nutrition stuff, was like trying to figure out where people are, and then you meet them where they're at. And maybe it's just like one thing at a time. Like if they're not ready to commit to a ton. Some people are ready to go though. Like, yeah, I want to get my nutrition, I want to get my sleep, and then that's like awesome, because they're going to see progress like much faster. But sometimes it's like one thing at a time. And as long as they're making progress towards something, I'm cool with like training them. It's just trying to be more honest about when they're not making progress.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of difficult as a trainer, but I think that's another thing to learn. So initially, like, what's the most important thing to them, and like really focusing on that, asking them a lot of questions. Like it's just all about them and like what they need to do, and like almost getting them to figure out what we're gonna do. Like until they don't know, and then I can step in as the expert and say, well, this is like some options of what you could try, versus just I think just keep asking questions about like, well, what are you doing right now to get stronger? How is that working for you? Well, what do you need to get stronger? Sometimes by that point, I'm just going to tell them. But because that's why they're here in the first place. But I mean, you start to get better at gauging the conversation, but just make it about them. Like, because then
I think that's the biggest thing, is trying to make it about them, and not. I used to. I don't know if you did this too. I feel like most trainers started like this, where you just want to share everything that you know. It's
exciting, to think of the potential, especially if you're into that, like coaching people, seeing the potential and like knowing where they could be, and then
but kind of, I think precision nutrition did the best in my mind was meeting somebody where they're at, and not trying to enforce your will or your knowledge like on them, or getting them to ask questions, and like
nobody cares what you know,
and especially when they come in with these like preconceived ideas of what they think needs to happen, and being able to not be combative when they say something that's like, no, that's wrong. But I used to, that's where I would get.
I've had that a lot recently, actually, and then I'm more just like, okay, this is where they're at in their understanding.
Yeah, it's like
and that's where I'm going to meet them, and then I'll slowly build them to where like I want them to start thinking about things, and it'll usually come when they're not making progress or when things aren't going the way they want them to. Then I can like introduce those thoughts about what I wanted them to think.
And I think
what I think is a better way of thinking about a certain.
And that's what I think. Like Pat Davidson talks about it. It's like, if they're just in front of me more, like they're like, I can build a relationship with them, and then I can talk to them about anything.
I know Bill Hartman talked about this recently too. It was like, how fast can you show people that they can change? Oh, that was the book I was looking for. It was the basically being closed-minded or
mindset.
I have it here somewhere.
Mindset and grit are two of they're pretty closely linked. But
do people have a growth mindset, or are they in a place where they don't think they can change? I feel like most people we work with, from at least my experience, tend to be on more the side of the growth mindset, like people who learn a lot. But
I think that's where I was going with that question was, and it sounded like basically build a relationship and make it like meet them where they're at.
Meet them where they're
rather than
try and figure out what's important to them. And so, especially like when I go to reassess, to show them something that's a change, right? Like to get them to buy in, like trying to associate that with whatever was most important to them.
So then what type of, like you'll ask like what's important to them, or what do you ask, how do you gauge what is important to them?
That's a good question. I feel like you just like do them all the time. Now it's like second nature. I'm just like going and doesn't even feel like work, because I'm just kind of like building rapport and I guess it really it always depends, but I think some of the main questions early on are going to be like, well, what do they spend their time doing? I mean, what are they doing all day, right? That's
Yeah,
probably a good indicator of what's important. So I spend a lot of time at work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you actually doing? Like, people who are more active and like feel like they're not able to do what they could before when they were younger. Some clients like that. And then for some people, it's just hard to get it out of them. Like, some people just don't really.
What do you tend to do
With those people?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Pat Davidson was like, try and get them in front of you, show them progress as fast as you can. Like, I've had a couple instances where people come in, they're just not really giving me any information. And I'm like, all right, we're going to go move. Like,
that's pretty much
let's just go move because
like, we're just sit here in silence.
This is getting awkward. Like, or even before it gets there, just trying to, let's just go. Let's just start moving and like, we can kind of coach things from there and give people an idea of where they're at so I can give them a better recommendation. Like, because at the end of the day, we're strength conditioning coaches. Like, the goal is to get people stronger and in better conditioning, and hopefully that will help them lose weight, gain muscle. But I just need to come move.
I think that's where some of the expectation part comes into play too. Is
absolutely.
Like, if meeting a trainer for the first session, like I imagine we're going to move. Like, if all we're going to do is sit in an office, I'm probably going to be, like, at least to a degree, like, come on, what are we doing? Like, And so, being able to get their expectation initially, or if I can ask them it beforehand, before we meet.
Absolutely.
It's pretty big. Because some people just want more information.
Yeah.
But I think that's more rare.
I think
feel
so.
like most people want to.
I think by the time they come to a personal trainer, they probably understand that, especially in a lot of other places in the industry, it doesn't really happen where we work, but I get this vibe from people that they're going to be really pressured to buy something. It doesn't really happen where we work because we're in a different place, but from what I've heard from trainers working like out, it's hard to get clients, and so like there's a lot of pressure to sell, and I think by the time people come to see us, I guess that's a good thing. They know that's coming. I mean, I don't have a style like that by any means, but
I worked at 24 Hour Fitness for a couple years, and it was like, and you only got one free session. So it's like you had to do everything in that one session, and so like now thinking about how how dialed in like I had to be, because I had to leave like those last 10-15 minutes to kind of show them a plan and then let them know like what I could do, but not make it sound super salesy, but still like it's coming, but still leave time to talk in the beginning and time to move. It was hard. I
guess I just feel like most people like coming in, even if they say they're not really looking for personal training, I feel like a lot of times they will do it.
Well, and here, Pro, it's a little different because, like, I don't know.
It's not a normal clientele.
No,
There's people that are...
And it's not like... I mean, I feel like they normally choose to do the free sessions rather than at 24. It was like... You're almost like conned into doing it.
Okay. Like you're...
A little bit. And
that makes sense.
Or it'll, like... They won't really want to do it, and they're just like, okay, I'll do it just to have you stop asking me to do it. And
God, that would suck. Yeah, I think the more you can not do that, the better it feels to be in this industry.
But at the same time, like, it made me like dialed in, and I would have to be like really focused. And there's been some times here where I just take it for granted, where so many people sign up without you having to do anything really. Then I think about opportunities that I might have missed because I wasn't as like dialed in on some aspects.
It's true.
Pros and cons, but
so it's like initially trying to gather as much information, like trying to figure out what's important to them, seeing where they're at as far as nutrition, sleep, more of the wellness stuff, and then where they're at with fitness, like how much injuries, like where are they at, and then once we get a better gauge on that, trying to figure out where they want to go, and giving them like a realistic like idea of what that looks like. And now, if they do want help, I just ask people to commit to more than somebody who's like once a week, not really that serious, but maybe I'll do this because I have the time. It's like, no, this needs to be like the priority. Like, you're gonna potentially be moving other things in your schedule to make this a priority because you want, like, the impact on your life could be really huge. Like, I don't really think that I say that enough, but like, if you really commit to this,
you can change.
You can really transform yourself, feel better. I mean,
and so initially, you feel like you had a lot of people that were like half in.
Mm-hmm. Especially with like
they
more
said they wanted it, and but aren't really doing everything that they could do.
Yeah, I think part of that too comes with experience as a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. Like, early on, you're trying to train as many people as you can. You're trying to keep people on your schedule. Like, you're just trying to eat. Like, you got to make a living, and you might be a little bit afraid to tell a client something because you might push them to a point where they're like,
afraid that they're gonna just quit.
Yeah. And especially if you don't want to be like that pressury salesperson or like give that vibe, but at some point, if people are there training in the first place, like, they value your service, like giving them what you really think. Like, I don't know, I've just gotten better at that. It's like, I just don't think this is going to be worth like your time. Or just tell them that later when it doesn't work, if you're willing to go there with them. Like, at this point, I want people to commit. Like, I want you to do like some sort of program that you're following, so we know what you're doing, and then we can go back and look at it and make sure that we're doing all the right stuff to make progress. Because what do you think is like the minimal commitment for like changing strength? 2-3 times a week minimum.
It's hard.
And then, like, how well are you executing those exercises on your own? And like
that's probably the biggest thing.
That's
because you can get better at skill stuff. Like, even once a week, like, just understanding what you're doing. But to see a real change in composition or strength, like, once a week, you're not doing anything. Like, what are we doing?
So many of that. Like, I think especially too as we had more promotional deals with like discounted training, like those people that didn't take it serious at all, like very rarely. I had a couple that did. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but in general, I think they're like, oh well, can afford that. That's not whatever. Like, they're not paying the full price of. So that's kind of as much effort as they give. It's like there's something to that. Because the more that I charge, the more people have been focused, I think. Or I just get clients who are more serious about it because
it literally becomes more valuable whether it's like
whether it is or isn't,
whatever.
That's true. But it's also kept me more accountable because they're stepping up. Like, I want to do better too, and really get better at tracking what we're doing and making sure that I'm giving them the feedback on like their progress. And like,
I feel like if I
want to be that committed.
I feel like if I'm working with somebody 3 times a week, like, I can't just be like recycling stuff.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like once a week, and like they don't practice it even on their own. Like, okay, we're just gonna do the same thing because you haven't done it at all.
And I've done that. I've been in that before. I'm just like, we're just kind of doing. Well, how does it feel today? Like, how are you doing? Like, like, that's another kind of difficult situation. But sometimes you got to modify. But I think it's good to have a plan for like, this is the capacity that we want to see change, whether it's weight loss, gaining strength. If somebody's really like dedicated to 3 times a week of personal training and potentially even doing like other activity on their own, they should see progress. Like, you've got enough time, I think. Like, unless you literally sit the entire even if you do sit a lot after that, I don't know, that'd be interesting. And everybody's different.
I've almost gone maybe not the opposite way, but I'm okay with training people once a week and trying to give them more like autonomy. So kind of like the drive portion of, because if they have to be in charge of it, then they can see, like, and then if we do measurements or whatever, or we have things that we're measuring, then they can see, like, they're not doing it. And then, to me, being able to expose them to really what is your level of commitment. Because we said we needed to do X, Y, and Z to get here. We're doing X when we're together. We're not doing Y and Z.
Right.
So, like, really, either you have to be okay with the results you're getting and just say, yep, I'm good, or something's got to change. Like, so either we could train more, but even right now, I feel like my schedule's pretty tight to where, like, the once-a-weekers, like, I don't have a lot of more time for them.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think it'd be interesting to get more, like, true coach stuff.
Yeah.
And be able to see their...
And then they could film it too.
Yeah.
See, like, how well they actually are executing the exercise.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing Dan fears with me.
Is
there's times when I'm just, like, things I haven't done before, I'll just, like, start setting up, like, the chains, and I think he watches it later and he's probably just shaking his head, like, what the hell is he doing?
But that's cool to get that feedback.
Absolutely. You know, and it's not like they're mistakes that are hurting anything. It's just not executing it to the level that, you know,
yeah,
that
and
they
knowing,
could be. Like,
knowing that if I want this to be executed as close to optimal as possible, then I'm gonna need somebody else to, like, be in front of me or watching me or letting me know.
That kind of ability of following a program, especially with, like, the True Coach.
Yeah.
The way you check it off, I really enjoyed that. I think that is definitely something I'm trying to move to with a couple clients, especially people that travel a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, initially, though, I want people to commit because I want to show them the skills they need, and if they want to progress, like, I think that's great, like, to have autonomy or to progress to where you're taking care of it yourself and, like, taking more interest in it because you need to know more. So I am trying to slowly have, like, an option for that, but like, early on, I think I want them to commit.
Yeah.
You know?
I definitely think so. The person that is doing, I have one person on the.
I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just, right? I mean,
it's what works.
Interesting, the coaching styles and what people want to do. And you go through that with the other John Berardi book that came out, Changemaker, where he's talking about, like, you organize all those things about yourself and, like, what you want your schedule to look like, what kind of people you want to work with, and, like, really narrowing down so that when you go to do work, it makes you happier. So for me, getting people to commit or not commit, the once a week thing, like, it's who I want to work with. Yeah, and it makes me much happier.
Yeah,
I know it makes me happier.
More the personality.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah,
especially early on. That kind of, like, the people who are going to commit and just are ready for somebody to take over their programming, and, like,
you're going to get along with them. I feel like much easier if they're in the same mindset of, like, let's do this, as opposed to, like, kind of.
Yeah, but then being able to help people who do want to go once a week, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's why it's good that trainers have different interests and, like, different levels of understanding. It's a really interesting field.
Yeah, that's that was part of the thing that has driven me towards that once a weekers. It's like, what are they going to do if they don't, like, if they're not seeing me once a week and I can at least try and influence them one time a week and get them to go there? Are they just going to, like, if I can keep them in the building,
at least
can I influence them to go more?
Yeah, no, that's cool.
And that's, so I think, something that I would like, because the person that's doing, like, this, we're almost just doing check-ins, he's doing the True Coach now. And we're still kind of getting used to it, but ideally we'll just do, like, once a month, and we'll just write a program for a month, and then he'll come back and he'll type it all his results and everything in True Coach.
Pretty cool.
And it's been pretty cool, even just the first couple days of doing it, because he puts down, like, how it felt, and the app is really easy, and then, I don't know, it's almost like social media.
So for him, does he just want more? Does he tell you just wanted to be more autonomous? Like, what was
well, he did 2020, so he was 3 times a week, and it was basically that, like, he wanted to be able to do this stuff on his own, but still be able to, like, have somebody
cool
to help.
To have that.
And he's, like,
mindset.
Yeah, and so that's what I thought was really cool, is the ability to have these like check-ins, and he has to be pretty dialed in to then, like, when we check in, like, we can't be starting all over again, otherwise it's not gonna work. And so being able to do that, I think, would be really cool, to have somebody initially be like, all right, yeah, we're gonna be 3 times a week and we're gonna get to this point, and then we'll start tailing off, and like, so then if I could train like 100 people, but have like one a month or something, and then they're all checking in on.
No, that's pretty cool.
That would be cool, but I don't know, I like both sides, but
I'm having to make sure.
Yeah, because then there's some people that potentially are, multiple times a week, but they're still wasting their time. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, okay, so you come up, like, you wake up and you knock out like your main clients, like, face to face, and then maybe you do your own workout, and then you just work on like those people that are once a
and like checking in and seeing.
Yeah, check in with them like after lunch, or maybe have that one time a month meeting, or whatever. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah,
could be a cool like balance of things, and then I assume like if you could see more people like once.
Because then I think that way it would give you less of this. Because if you're 3 times a weeker is gone, then like, all right, I just lost 12 sessions.
Yeah, that is a tough thing with training, right?
So if I could train 100 people, and
that's true. That's a good idea.
I think True Coach is way better than the other one.
I think there's a lot of people going to that model. I've seen a lot of Facebook ads for people doing this like gym hybrid online kind of coaching, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about. It's just been weird for us being in a bubble. I feel like our clients aren't like other clients, like the situation, and like if you opened your own gym, it'd be way different. It would just be like, it's pretty easy. It's like they're pretty much throwing you like a layup.
Yeah,
they
wide
give
open
you clients
layup.
At the beginning 3 times a week, and then most of the clients that we see have expendable income, so it's not usually about the money. It's like whether or not you're gonna give them what they want.
Yeah,
and that's cool that there are more people that want to follow that like programming mindset where they're like on their own doing their thing. Because a lot of times I do have, I'd say less now, but over the course of 7 years, I had a lot of people that I was like, you could do this on your own. Like, I'm not even cueing you anymore. I'm just standing here like pointing for you where to go, and like like you definitely. I know part of it is the accountability of showing up to somebody.
Yeah.
But if I had that on the app, where they had to still check it off, or I'm going to be like looking at it later tonight and be like, why didn't you do that?
Yeah. And some people
maybe
might
that
still
could be enough
need...
pressure. Like and some people might need, but trying to shift more to like group with that, like people really want more of that accountability, one-on-one, trying to get them in a group, depending on the client too.
Yes.
But I do think a lot of them benefit from it, especially over the last year.
I need to
switching to that.
Do a better job at that.
It's pretty cool.
I've found...
If it's a good fit. If it's not, then that can be like the worst thing ever too.
I don't know if I'm just being too... like, they wouldn't be a good fit, or if it's legit, like, they wouldn't be a good fit.
Sometimes it surprises you too. It's almost like one of those things, like, let's just try it. That's what I tell them too. Like, hey, let's just try this out. Like, if it sucks. Mm-hmm. I did that with a couple guys, and then they ended up really like training together and actually worked harder. Like, they were on time. Mm-hmm. Where when it was the one guy, he would be like 5-10 minutes late every time. I'm like, how do we fix this? And we tried things. Like, I tried to like give him things to do. I was like, I need you to do this before we start working out.
Yeah. How
like,
do you?
It's and that was literally, it took another person and being on their watch to get him to be on time.
Yeah,
it was really interesting. We talked about it, and he's like pretty self-aware of these things, so it's pretty fun to like tinker with. Like,
I train husband and wife separate, and there was 1 or 2 sessions it just worked where they could do it together. And I'd never seen the husband work so hard. Like, on the Versa, usually on the Versa it's like, but on the Versa it was like, and he was like dead serious the whole time. Normally he's like cracking a bunch of jokes, and I'm like, who are you? And
that's awesome.
And she thought this is how he always works. I was like, that's
not.
What
he wanted to think.
Yeah.
Just ruined it for him.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's it's crazy. I think that's where things like CrossFit do really well.
Building
like the social
community.
Environment. I know people want to give them a hard time, and At some point, I'll probably talk more about CrossFit itself on the podcast. But I mean, like anything,
just done. Yeah, they've done so many things so well. Of
yeah,
course,
I think we have to take those into consideration.
Of course, there's pros and cons with every.
Oh my god, doctor.
Yeah, with everything.
That's some shit.
Well, even like trainers, like
absolutely PT, like
yeah,
you name the industry, it doesn't matter. Like
it really just depends on the place you go.
It's really easy to focus on the negatives, but it usually comes down to the quality of the individual coaching.
Yeah.
And like the culture of that gym, like
what I've told multiple people is like, I trust ours. I don't really trust any other one because like they're full-time trainers there.
Full-time trainers with like a degree with
that's their job.
They usually started with Gen Pop.
Yeah.
They trained a lot of Gen Pop before they moved to like the CrossFit.
Yeah.
You know, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's so different.
But it's like going to.
I mean, Doug's even implemented like a movement screen that they use.
Yeah.
To regress cool. And it sounds pretty cool. I haven't looked into it too much, but
it's similar. I mean.
To any.
Yeah. It's just seeing mechanics.
Structure.
Yeah.
Having a structure.
It's kind of a lot of. It feels like a lot of like. Kelly Starrett movement stuff. As far as like overhead and but.
On CrossFit.
Yeah.
But that'll be a conversation probably for another time. But I think you'd be a good candidate to talk about that because you do have CrossFit coaching and like you go back and forth.
Yeah. I'm not like hardcore CrossFit.
Yeah, that's why I want to get somebody
like there is like
hardcore.
This like cultural.
Because that's like most of the people I know that are like other than like Janelle and all the people she works out with that are like all about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how open they would be to coming and like talking. Like there's gonna be some. Like we can disagree on certain things.
Yeah.
And just call it what it is. As long as it wasn't like hostile. I mean, I just because everybody else that I actually talked CrossFit about, like they're people that have done CrossFit or like coached CrossFit, and then like a lot of them mostly don't do that anymore, or like they just don't take. They're not like the hardcore. Like I want to talk about.
I still do it. Like you saw me yesterday.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But it's implemented with other things.
Right.
It's not just.
It's hard to put things under an umbrella.
Yeah.
But I don't know, a lot of clients ask me about that. So that'll definitely be a topic to talk about at some point. But
I would like to listen to that one.
Well, you might be on it. So so how do you somebody comes in day one? What does that even look like? How do you structure it?
I feel like we're pretty much on the same page, like as far as I'm trying to understand what's important to them, and then why it's important to them. And for some people, I can get to the why quickly because they're open to sharing.
Well, how do you do that?
I just ask why.
Why?
Well, usually I'll try and send an email before, and say I'll usually do 3 questions just to keep it simple. It's like, what's important to you? What's important to you and why? And then what are your expectations from me? What are your expectations from yourself? And then maybe what's something you like to do for fun, or what's a hobby of yours? Just to try and build a personal relationship. Because for me, I see it as if I can build a relationship, then I can ask why a lot easier, and I can know when you're BSing, or because most people you ask why and they're like, oh, just to be healthier.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
You gotta break through some barriers.
Yeah, and so it's trying to, and it really depends on the person. If they're really, I just want to go out there and move, then I'll try to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll try and ask, what's important to you? Oh, I want to be healthy. Well, why? What does that look like to you, and why? And then they'll usually give some other generic answer. And if, depending on the person, I might go one deeper, well, why is that important? But try not to sound like a dick of I'm just repeating why.
Yeah, why do you like that?
Yeah.
That's
more
weird.
Try and reframe it, or
for sure.
Go in on that a little bit and then try and ask why, or maybe when we're out on the floor, talking about why a little bit more. Because if I can understand what they're really there for, what's really important to them, then that's something we can connect on.
Yeah.
And build a
I think
relationship
it's
off
important. And then that doesn't always happen, though.
No.
And so I really like Pat Davidson's way of going about it. Like, all right, we're going to, like, try and get you moving better. We're going to, like, find measurable things that we can show you change. And then, you know, getting them to buy in. And then a lot of times they'll open up, like, once they start to figure out, oh, this does work, like, I can change. Then you can go into a lot of other conversations when they're not performing well and things aren't going well. Well, how's your nutrition? How's your food? That stuff is important for you to be able to, like, recover from this. Like, oh, I'm so sore and I've been sore for, like, 5 days. Like, that's not normal. Or, like, if not for what we did, because, you know, we're usually, we're, you know, it's like, how's your recovery? You know, and because we're usually not trying to crush people. Like, I don't know. I think that was, like, a thing for a long time. Like, have a reputation to crush people. And
just trainers in general? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. It's still a new industry, right? I mean, I'm thinking, like, me growing up as a kid thinking what a trainer was. Like,
I still get that. Even just the other day, I had a kid started who had never really done resistance training, and we just went through a couple of machines and some, like, reverse lunges, and he was saying at the end, it's like, oh, I was expecting to just, like, be dead after, but I can see how you can, like,
I think there's still quite a bit of, I don't know, it's still a very new growing industry, and I don't know, that's probably still happening a lot of places, just, like, crush people, and
and that's it,
and they just love it and they come back. I don't know, it's interesting.
But then so getting back to the initial thing, I'll ask why, and then try and get them basically just to expand more on anything that they want to expand on, even if it's not super related to training. And then I think I've done a much better job of it in the past, or in the last couple years, but not giving off, like, a judgmental vibe. Because if somebody's sharing, like, what they're eating, like, oh, you're eating that? Or, like, because I think there's this expectation from them of, like, they're already, like, I have to almost put on airs of, like, what I've been trying to do, and why I'm doing things right. And that's where I think some of the questions that John Berardi has come up with or used of, like, what's the benefit of not changing? Like,
right?
Because it's kind of like, what do you mean I have to change? Like, you don't have to change. Like, you don't have to do anything.
I guess you go back to why you're here in the first place.
Yeah. You know? Like, that's why I really like those questions, because it kind of throws them into the state of, like, you don't have to do anything. Like, we're trying to be on the same team and get to the same spot. Like, it's not you trying to, like, I'm trying to fight you and
that's important. That's super important. I think about, like, an instance like that. I feel like most of my clients are pretty honest about
now, or, like,
more now. I don't know back.
Or, I mean, like, when you first meet them.
Well, that's hard. I think there's a period of time where you got to build rapport and, like, and try and show them some results so they buy in and get more comfortable with you and trust you. Like, you got to get trust at some point. And I think for some people in, like, one session we can show them change, having more of that background with biomechanics and, like, movement and stuff. Like, there's some tests that we can do and, like, show them change if that's what's important to them, mobility or something. I'm, like, taking people who can't touch their toes to, like, improving that capacity.
And
like,
then
within,
that, like,
and they're like, oh, okay, like, that's, you know, that gets some buy-in.
But I think
like, trust.
It goes back to the expectations of, like, what are you going to do for me? And what am I expecting you to do for me? And then I feel like, though, it's trying to, like, you ask them that, and then is that really what they expect from me, though? And
right.
Because they might just be saying like, want to be healthy, but really expecting, like, I want to see some results. Like, and of course they do. And so it's...
So, like, something like that particular instance where I show somebody a difference in their ability to touch their toes, probably not going to do that with somebody who's like, I want to lose weight. Or, like, I mean, it's just like, I'm going to go try and find things that help them
That's
lose weight,
important.
start losing weight, and
Yeah.
like on nutrition, we talk about sleep, like making sure that they have like an idea on what it looks like to make progress towards that. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's like pretty simple. Like I had one guy, it can be as simple as this. Like I had one guy he just didn't know that putting a bunch of sugar in his coffee was gonna like not be good for his weight, and he cut out sugar like in the morning. I don't know if he cut it out later too, because I just told him like, yeah, it's
That could
just
be.
like it's just it's not good for weight loss.
Yeah.
And he lost like 5 pounds in like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it can be as easy as that, and you got to figure out what's important to them though, like.
Yeah.
Because it's nice that I get recommended people who are more conscious of their movement and want like somebody who's going to help them with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just somebody else's client who's having issues with like a particular movement, and they don't really know like what they could do. Everything they try doesn't work, and so like, I don't know, go see if he can help you with your movement, and that's fun.
Yeah.
And I know they're coming in specifically for that, so
That's
like
really
we can
fun.
nerd out and do the testing and like.
I like that a lot.
And then if we can get change, you can be like, yeah, these are the 1 or 2 activities to do for your warm up, and this should help you with your squatting or whatever. And that's like pretty fun for me.
Yeah.
Not fun is when somebody's like, my client is in pain, and then no one can help them. Can you? That's not so fun.
No.
Teaching somebody a skill or like improving their capacity towards something is much better than like fix my pain.
Yeah.
That's why the movement stuff is really valuable. Like I feel like that's totally awesome. I love doing that.
Pretty satisfying when like somebody is in pain though, and then you do
That is
something
cool.
and they get out. Like I feel like you have them for a long time for life. If
I
you
have
get
multiple clients I can think of right now.
There was,
This is why.
multiple people with it. Same thing.
I mean, I didn't have that kind of success until I did the PRI stuff, and like I don't know what it is about PRI and people's resistance to it, but like because I learned the things from their philosophies, it's made me much better at knowing what button to push to help people like own their body, and like building that like awareness in a good posture and I don't know, like just being aware of like being in a better posture and like knowing which muscles to strengthen, putting them in the right like environment to where like a lot of my clients really don't have that much pain. If they came in with back pain, over time they learn how to manage it. Not that they're like cured from it. So it just drives me nuts when people like want to hate on it or like I don't know.
As
it's
far
such
as
a
like
deep knowledge.
clients,
like usually not clients. My clients wouldn't even know that I'm like.
Okay, yeah.
It's mostly like
they know.
health professionals, like other PTs or trainers. I've got an argument. It's like. It's a great system, like the system and the things that you learn within it. It's like
CrossFit.
How you use those. Like I said, you were doing CrossFit the other day. Like how you're using it, like using your tools appropriately. Like,
right. Yeah. Everything has a use for it. It's just.
But that's definitely what's gotten a lot of my clients out of pain or managing their pain. Is like the principles I learned from them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool to be able to show people change in that capacity, like. Getting them like, yeah, you can actually exercise, deadlift. You can do that. You can deadlift, and you can squat, and not have pain. Things. Like, and then it's a huge win. Like, and I feel like that happens.
Especially if they're scared of a position or like
picking
something up or
I think that happens more times than not. If people actually commit to the training, I feel like they do a pretty good job of progressing people to just being able to do more and more. Not that things aren't gonna happen. Like their back flares up here and there. Like I'm not claiming to cure anyone. It's like. We're all going to have aches and pain. We're all going to wear down. Those are where setting expectations. Like, maybe people don't understand that. They start having pain, and they're like, oh, my God. Nothing. It's like, well, guess what? The older you get,
there's been
the more it's just...
a few people that have come to the realization, so they got into pain, and that made them stop doing everything.
Yeah.
And then gained weight, and nothing got better. And then
you atrophy because you're not moving.
So I think one of the most beneficial tools, which is like where I got probably a lot from Precision Nutrition, is you're gonna fall into a hole at some point. Like you're gonna get hurt. Life's gonna happen.
Oh man, yeah.
Something's gonna happen to where you're off track nutritionally, physically, whatever. Do you have the skills to get yourself back? Or is it just like, I'm done? Like, instead of turning the dial off, just turn it down a little bit rather than...
Too hard.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like realizing that in my own self, though. Like, I mean, I'm a trainer, and I would work out on a regular basis. But the busier I get with like clients and stuff, I just get freaking tired. And like, it's good. I can make an excuse about it. Like, I don't need to work out today. Like, I'm so tired from work. But having Dan as a coach and like committing to him has made me like I've seen a lot of gain.
Yeah,
in my
just
own
from
strength.
Consistency.
Mostly consistency. Partially his awesome programming.
Yeah.
And learning, you know, the science of what he's doing. But just having another set of eyes, too, because I'm pretty biased into my own, like, what I see, right? It's limited. Like, where having somebody else give you input is, I think, really valuable. Especially if you can trust them.
Yeah. That's huge.
We don't have to even agree on everything, but for the most part, like I'm committed to doing whatever he tells me. Like he writes it down for me on the program, I'm not gonna question it, you know. And like, it's really nice.
Yeah.
But I think this is what's cool about some of the precision nutrition stuff and like what John Barodi is talking about with like. He talked about this a little bit at the Vigor Summit. Was like. We're more becoming these coaches where people come as like they come to us for a lot of different information. It's like nutrition, sleep. We're kind of like this hub, almost like you would go to a general physician to like send you to the next thing that you need. It's just like figuring out where people are and then giving them the right like tools and resources, like making sure they're like getting. If you need a coach for nutrition to go that deep, like where is that line? I don't know. Like I feel like. We may not have necessarily figured that out in the industry.
Just in general?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, you want help. So most times, like, just like if they want any nutritional stuff, I'm like, we've got dietitians, but on like, I think it could be simpler than that. Like, some people just need to understand like really basic. Things that like.
They don't really need a meal plan. They just need to know.
Right.
Like.
Or they're not trying to be curative. Or they're like not managing a specific disease or something.
Yeah. And
most people are just need to like know how much protein do I get?
Yeah.
Like
I think
because if you just do that, like that's probably really gonna help you.
And that's almost probably one of the initial things that I did when I first started was like, oh, well, you need this much, this, whatever, and like I'd have a good idea for them, but like if they're not even aware of what protein is or like where do I get it, how do I make it, like it's gonna be hard to like you don't have any of the tools like to do this thing, and yet
it'd be really overwhelming. It's like, so for the most part I'm just like, all right, 20-30 grams of protein, 3 meals a day, and then like a snack with like more protein. And that's like the general advice I would give. And then that's why I did the precision nutrition, was to get a better idea on how to coach people into like the skill set that they need to accomplish whatever it is for them. And I think it's pretty solid. But nutrition's a tough one because you're also overcoming social factors of like this is how the family eats. You know, it's like there's so many things that could really mess up people's, like the friends you hang out with. Like that's a tough one. Nutrition's tough. Yeah.
And again, just kind of meeting them where they are as far as what knowledge they have and then what they've been doing and how aware they are.
Most people know. They just need to be reminded. Okay. Or like they need to like be reminded of their own. Like so, a client comes in, they're like, "Yeah, I freaking ate this thing. I know I shouldn't have. I mean, it wasn't even like." And I'm like, "Well, what were you doing like before that?"
Mm-hmm. That was like the Power Habit.
Yeah. Is that?
Have you read?
I don't know if I read that one.
Oh.
But it's like, well, what did you do right before that? And then like, okay, well, she had a long day. She was tired. Like there was no plan for that, overcoming that scenario, and it's gonna be something that happens to her a lot. So it's like we gotta come up with a plan. Like you're gonna be tired. You're not gonna do it. So what can we do to make sure that? And so what she did was she just flipped. She was taking more protein earlier in the day, and I had her just try. We're just trying it out. It's like, well, try and take that later when like you're most hungry later in the evening. Like do your protein shake
prone
then.
To grab for something. Yeah.
Yeah, and eat the like basically just flipping, eating more early, and then having the protein shake and like more of the to try and satiate her later.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You just kind of like try it out. If it doesn't,
yeah,
and then we go try another strategy. But
that's the other thing that I think a lot of maybe just people in general, or maybe it's more our clientele, think they're like a computer, and I can just input, and I'll be good. But really, it's like, what's going on at the time? Like, is there other stress? Is there like what's happening in your life at that time? And it's not that simple of like just this. It's like you gotta experiment with what works, and then after a while that might not work as well. And
maybe it's like a temporary strategy even.
Yeah.
You know, especially for our clientele, travel, stress, deadlines. Like we gotta have different strategies for different times. But I think that's what's nice about doing the programming stuff with like people who are traveling or people who are, I don't know, they're not seeing you as consistently, is that you do have things to track and look at and like compare to how they feel and track even sleep and all that other stuff. Like, I think people become more aware of that stuff when they're not performing the way that they think they should.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I've been trying to do is like, how do I drive more self-awareness from these people of like, if you're not getting the results that you want, like, you're not getting them because you're not doing the things that need to be done. And so like that something needs to change. So we need to figure out like what's the biggest rock or what's the easiest rock that we could move.
Yeah.
And where is it and what can we do to do one step closer to what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge benefit to that first part of the precision nutrition stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. And like just organizing those thoughts. But I'm trying to think of like some examples of what that would be like. I mean, most, like you said, most of it is like nutrition or not eating, like bed, like not getting to sleep for the amount of hours that you need, and like trying to backtrack. Well, what are you doing? Like usually it's like, well, I'm watching TV. I'm like, well, you know, you can talk about being exposed to like the blue light stuff, or I don't know, like how deep
that's where it gets hard
into
because like
it.
the social aspect too of like,
I know.
Well,
that's
I'm
like, guilty of that lately. I'm like,
but if it's like, oh, that's the only time I get alone, like I have that where it's like I have to put my kids to bed and then I get like an hour, and so I just want an hour to myself. Like, how can we make that as productive as possible, or can we find something else somewhere else if you're not willing to give that up?
Some blue light blockers.
Something.
Cover up.
But yeah, that's probably a very hard aspect of our job, is when they're not with us, like figuring out what things could be changed, what things are like they're not willing to give up, and then self-awareness of what are you actually doing, or how do you feel like right before you eat that, or like what was going on before that, and trying to create that self-awareness.
I mean, you only have so much capacity throughout the day to like control yourself. I mean, as much as we like to think that we're in control all the time, I mean, a lot of times like, I'm on autopilot, especially after work, like after being like so on and like I love it, like I like doing it. I just only have so much capacity to take in information and like to have that conversation with people and like really take into heart what they're telling me, so that I'm like adjusting my programming, and I'm like there's so many things like I'm on, right? Like when I come home, I'm usually like trying to just turn off, like because I know like when it comes to food, it's why I meal prep. It's because I will just go eat I'll eat some crap. Like I hate like a bag of chips, like this like bag of chips, and the other day, 'cause that's like one of the only things I had around. I was like, I'm hungry, and that's like I felt like crap afterwards. I felt terrible. I was like, damn it.
That's why I just try not to buy. Like, we don't have anything
that's
not
smart.
good in the house, because if there's cookies in the house, they're gone. Like, Caleb will tell you, they are gone.
I know.
Like,
I think it's chocolate. I'll just chocolate peanut butter cups. I'll just freaking go to town on those.
And
I have to.
I can get pretty hungry.
Have it. Yeah, especially when I'm lifting a lot. I mean, it's like I have to eat or I feel like lethargic.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
So we're going through it too. I mean, we're trying to figure out.
I think like you said though,
we're all human.
We've built habits that are like autopilot habits now, whereas they're gonna have to use a lot of brain power to like get to change a habit.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very hard as well. It's like knowing or trying to get across that it's going to be difficult. Like, at first. Like, it's going to be pretty hard. And so if you can create really good habits, though, then it gets much easier because then it's just, you can be on autopilot and you don't have to think so much about it.
Right.
And then you can put your energy back into whatever else you want to. But initially, like, a lot of effort is going to have to go into this thing. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results that, like, you want. Or
absolutely.
Especially if you have a lot of things you want to get done.
No, I mean, I can think of it for me, like, going and cutting time out of my schedule to work out. Now that I have somebody making me a plan, now it's a priority, and I'm like, okay, this part of my schedule, I'm blocking it out, like, on Monday, on Tuesday. And sometimes I'm more flexible, but, like, I'm still trying to, sometimes I'm like, okay, this is the last thing I'm doing today, and then I found that that's not a good idea for me either, because then I'm usually so tired I don't want to work out by the end of the day. So back to, like, I got to get it in usually middle of the day, and sometimes I have to sacrifice other things, like a nap. You know, but then I'm, like, more worried about my sleep, and then so, like, I don't know. I had a good run for, like, 2-3 months where things were just clicking, but then the holidays came. Yeah. And then, like, things come up, right? And I'm still trying to get back into, like, what I had going. Like, I had a really good momentum. It was... I don't know.
Yeah, that's big, too, is, though, like, expectations of holidays are coming up. Like, you can't expect to be perfect.
No. It's just...
Schedule's going to get changed. Like, stuff's going to happen. How well can you manage it and come back?
Exactly.
Not just completely shut it off. Be like, okay, exactly. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All or nothing mentality. I feel like I have a lot of people that are all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's...
No, I agree. And that's a tough call too. Again, especially with the way that I've organized my training now. Like, if they can't commit to at least that one time a week and doing some programming at least once or twice.
Yeah.
You know, without, like, if they can't do that, then I just don't really have an option for training.
Yeah.
Unless they're, like, on it. Like, I've had some people that I've trained for a long time that are once a week, but they're playing other sports. Like, they're doing their own workouts. Like, and they're making progress. And they're doing great.
More so,
I feel like most people aren't those people.
Their level of commitment.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's not most people that I'm running into initially, especially, like, with the initial consultation. That's totally fine to work to that. Like you said, working to autonomy. Yeah.
That's where drive, that part would come into play. I think it would be...
Drive is cool.
How do you... So, it's mostly about, like, internal versus external motivation, right? So you can externally motivate someone fairly easily if you know kind of what triggers them. But is there any way, I guess, you think you're getting people more internally motivated? So I think about that a lot. Like, how could I drive more internal rotation? Internal motivation.
That's for another talk. We do want that too.
In order to get them to be more autonomous, and like the guy that I'm training now on that True Coach, he's pretty dialed in, like, for the most part, and he wants to do this stuff. And at first, and he was probably already closer to being there, but I guess, do you think we have an influence to drive internal motivation as a trainer, or is it just kind of a 50-50?
I don't know. I think as people learn, like, what it takes to really get result, and they have more of a realistic picture of what that's like, and then they're able to see change, I feel like my clients have become more interested in the workouts, and, like, asking about why we're doing what we're doing, or asking, like, questions. Like, the other day I had a lady who was like, so this week we're doing something different than we did last week, and, like, why are we doing 5 reps now? Like, they have more interest in, like, what's happening to them.
Don't you just love when they ask?
Yeah, I'm like, well, let me tell you.
Put your lab coat on. And
yeah, well, it was tough because I really wanted her to get back to the workout. but I was like, yeah, basically just gave like a quick rundown. Like, yeah, sometimes we're gonna do more volume on things, sometimes we're gonna do less volume, and like we're gonna be building a lot of strength with some of the like lower rep stuff and like lots of tension, like usually some of the bigger complex movements. Like, but then like when we go more to our like accessory stuff, we're gonna be doing more volume. Sometimes I'm just gonna have you do a lot of volume. Sometimes I'm gonna have like it just kind of depends. But there is like a rhyme and reason. Like I write it out for like weeks at a time to kind of have a general sense of where I want things to go, so that you're building these certain capacities. And then I was like, hurry, get to your workout. You're late. Like you're messing up the rotation. But it's cool. Like it's really cool when they have questions, and I really appreciate that. It's a really fun part of the job.
I think that's probably a huge part, is if you can get people to ask questions, get them interested enough to ask questions, they start, it obviously is on their mind in some capacity, and then they can start to think about it more or in a different way.
Yeah, Daniel Hill recently said this a lot. Usually when I'm studying, he'll like catch me, and he's like, people who are like continuing learning or like being in that environment, it's motivating to other people. And I feel like when I am passionate about something I'm learning and like sharing it with my clients, they show interest in it too.
Yeah, and they'll have questions about it.
Mm-hmm. Like this is like a really exciting thing. Like I think this is a really exciting thing.
Yeah.
And it usually the things that we're studying have to do with like human, whether it's movement or human nature or it's just, so there is like interest for them too. So like, oh well, that's me. Like and that's pretty cool. That's a cool part of this industry. I think it's everything I learned does help me, but it, like as I get better at coaching it, I can also like use it to help other people.
Yeah, I'm interested in both learning as much as I can about the mechanics and programming and stuff. One of the other side of that, or maybe not the other side, but a different aspect, is how then do I communicate that with my clients? And I think the ability to be able to expand or simplify something is pretty crucial in order to not make people feel overwhelmed, but then be able to expand if they continue to have more questions. Like I love when people ask questions, but I also have learned not to then overshare. Like if they ask one question, then I go on for 5 minutes about something, I'm never asking a question again because that was too much.
Yeah, I don't know. I lost the thought. I had a great thought to build on here. No.
Off this or?
Yeah, it was like.
You'll get it back.
It'll come back, and then it'll be at a really inconvenient. Oh, like I love learning about the biomechanics, the programming, like the actual things that drive result, but from a realistic standpoint, they're the things that probably matter like the least initially. Like there's trainers who get their clients to show up consistently and hit great result just because they show up and do something.
Yeah.
I do like the aspect of like taking pride in my work as a strength coach and like having awesome programming, like the biomechanics, and like really trying to get people towards a level of mastery, because I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. It makes my job fun. It makes me feel useful. But initially, I feel like the last couple of years, I've shifted away from that stuff a little more and tried to focus on like what we're talking about. Like, how do you actually get people to show up and be here and like enjoy it? Like, it should be fun too.
Yeah.
As much as we talk about it as such a sciencey thing, it's like they should just show up and have a good time. Like, sometimes I just want to like, I don't know, give some of my clients just give them a hard time, honestly. Like some real like higher level people, like they don't really get crap from people because people are probably kissing their ass all day.
Yeah.
Those people I give the most crap, and I think they really enjoy that. But that's just relationship.
Yeah, but I think that's super important, and that's, I think I've spent now I've probably done similar, like the things that I do spend my time on as far as like the biomechanics or the sciencey stuff. Like I really try and pick something that I really want to know rather than just learning a bunch of different things. Because I've been really interested in like the psychology side of it over the last few years.
Yeah.
And what people's like brains are doing during a session, or maybe not during a session, but just in general, and what keeps people interested, like what would keep people coming back. That's why these books are really interesting, because it goes more into that side of things. And it, so like the fun part just makes me think of like flow, and like how would you create a session. I've been thinking about it, like how to create a session that has like those 3 rules or like general guidelines of flow, which is you have clear goals, immediate feedback, and like that proper skill to balance or skill to challenge ratio. And so, because if you can keep people in that zone, then it's fun. And that's, I think, in those 2 books, Rise of Superman and Ceiling Fire, I think they talk about it a little bit of like that's what video games do. Like
they're really good at it.
Yeah, and that's why it keeps you playing for so long. Yeah,
it's just challenging enough to where like
that's why there's levels.
You're overcoming,
like and there's clear goals. Like you know exactly when you're doing bad, and then it's immediate feedback. And so Brilliant. And then it's and they do it so really well. So I was thinking, how could you make
exercise like that?
Yeah, to a degree, you know.
Obviously, people addicted to exercise.
Yeah,
but in a healthy way.
Yeah. That's why I think that's why I've enjoyed sports so much.
Yeah.
Is because it is that. It is like immediate feedback. You know if you missed a shot or whatever, or made a shot. You have clear goals. I got to get the ball through the hoop. And then it, depending on where you play, like if I was playing an NBA game, I would probably not have very much fun.
Right?
But if I'm playing people against like my skill level, then it's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty interesting.
How would you make a session like that? Have you thought about that? I'm sure. I think we probably all do it because like we don't start somebody with a 400-pound deadlift, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know that.
Yeah.
And so, but then can we think about it even a little more detailed of, okay, immediate feedback. So that's where I like the initial drills of like the towel. Like pulling towel, because you get like, oh, yeah, I'm not keeping my back down or whatever. Clear goals, like don't let me get the towel. And then proper challenge skill, like, okay, we're going to do this laying down, like you're going to be in the easiest possible position, and then we can level up from there.
Yeah.
So like movements like that, I think that's what Pat Davidson talks about a lot. It's like there's a number, beat the number. Like I get immediate feedback if I beat that number.
I think a lot of those things happen as a byproduct of being really conscious of people's mechanics and then wanting to push the numbers. Like on my end, like I want to see things progress. So like there needs to be a challenge. Like they need to be challenged if they're going to get better.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I'm thinking, how am I going to make this fun, or like how am I going to make this like flow, like keep them in flow. It's more like I think it just happens as a byproduct of being really like conscious of what your client's doing, challenging them, and teaching them new skills.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's constantly like, hey, these are the skills I want you to be able to do higher level exercises because you're going to get way more out of it. And, you know, that's kind of like the goal that we're pushing towards. But right now, you know, we're going to really focus on this. You need to feel this. And then, again, it kind of depends on how far into the training. Because then you can go into, like, I've actually been trying to keep people less.
Cue them less?
Yeah. Just put them in an environment where they can...
move.
And succeed. But then that should help us get to, like, the next progression, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, then I would argue that I think you are doing it. You're just maybe not calling it that.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Okay, yeah.
That's like...
But those, I guess, the thing that I'm really interested in is, like, those are the principles, basically. Everyone's probably doing it to a degree, but how aware are they of it?
Oh, yeah. And if you are more aware, then
then you could probably tweak it and make it more flowy.
That's how I could explain precision nutrition. It's like things that we might be doing intuitively, like they do a really good job of breaking it down so that you can explain it and then really think about it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that's where it's really valuable, because it's like people just, oh yeah, it was okay. I'm like, I don't know. I thought, like,
about precision nutrition.
yeah.
I
It's
feel like it was the best.
Yeah, it was great.
The best course I've ever taken.
It's like, so they're like, oh, it's just general stuff like this and that, and like,
if
I'm
you
like,
really
but
like, no,
but
it's
if
not.
But if you understand,
Yeah,
like how to break it down and explain it, it's like,
it was easily to me still the best course I've ever done, as far as just meticulous of like, they're just bridging these gaps that are like, again, I think it gets back to communication of getting on the same plane as somebody, understanding where they're at, and then like, okay, now we're here together. Let's go to the next
and you
step.
can use that in other, like, not just nutrition, like,
Yeah.
it's just coaching in
Just
any aspect.
The mind, the psychology of it.
Well, I think that's a big issue with a lot of health professionals, is even like doctors, the ability to like coach a person and like meet them where they're at, and like, maybe they don't have the time, or they're not the professional that needs to be doing that, but even like physical therapists, I have clients come back and try to like tell me what they were doing, and they're confused, and they don't know how to like execute whatever they were supposed to be doing with the PT. And it's like, and then they give them like 20 exercises, and I'm like, what? Like,
I'm not gonna
do one.
I'm just completely overwhelmed at that point. Like,
but that just might not be in their initial. I don't know a lot about physical therapy. I don't want to hate on them, because I know some really good ones. And like any field we talked about, there's good, bad, but like from a lot of health professionals in general, I think we know how to like solve the issue. So it's like, do this, but really what people need is a coach, you know, like they need to be coached in like one thing at a time, like make sure that they can learn this particular skill so that they can execute something over and over and make it repetitive and like build a habit.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, even probably like as a dietitian, you probably run into that kind of stuff. Like, that's just the level of coaching maybe that comes with time. I wish I would have learned this stuff a lot earlier, because I think it would have saved me a big.
That's what I think. That's what I think is the most important thing. Starting is, can you coach somebody?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Like, you could know really basic stuff about nutrition and fitness, but can you get somebody to get on the same page as you, and then meticulously move through one step at a time,
right?
As opposed to, here's these 10 things you need to do, go do them, or
that's like,
it's too much.
I mean, because it could take just one little thing, like the guy who just stopped putting sugar in his coffee. Yeah, it took that one thing for him to like start losing weight and get to his goal. I'm like,
and then I bet
that was just that one thing.
Yeah.
Like, but if I would have just been like,
oh, you need to change everything. Yeah. Let's look at what you're doing first.
You're going to work out 3 times a week. You're going to follow this perfect program.
Yeah. As opposed to just being more aware of what he's already doing. Like, I mean, that's an easy tweak. We could just...
Like he was working out once a week too, now that I think about it. I mean, he might have been doing some stuff on his own, but... it was the sugar, man. But then again, if he wanted to get to like a higher level, though, because at some point he's working out once a week. I think he did come to a spot where he like plateaued and was doing like the same weight all the time and the same thing. That's where we had the conversation of like, if you do want to progress, more commitment. Yeah, basically. But he didn't. So he didn't. This is where he wanted to stay, and
to me,
that's fine. Yeah. I mean,
yes,
cool.
I'm okay with that now. Like, I don't think I was okay with that when I first started. It was like, no, you have to work out more times. Like,
you have.
No, I don't.
You got to get gains.
Yeah. Whereas now I'm like, you could work out, and maybe I've gone almost too far that way sometimes, where I don't give enough structure.
Yeah. I guess you got, what is it? You can always give 51%. You can always give people a little bit more, but like you can't be over committed to somebody who doesn't want to commit to it. You can't want it more than they want it. Because then it's like, we talked about that at the beginning. It can be really frustrating as a coach.
Yes. And I don't know if you've done this, but I've like made programs for friends and family members and who said, oh, I want to lose weight. I'm like, oh, yes, okay, here we go. And I ask them like how many times we work out, whatever. And I make this huge, I remember for a couple people, it took me like a few days and like hours to put this thing together. And then I like checked in with them a couple weeks, like, oh, I didn't do it. What? It's like, do you know how much time I spent on that? So now I'm like, yeah, you got to show me that
$2,000.
Yeah, you got to show me that you really want it. So
yeah, no,
I've just stopped doing it unless even at like dinners and stuff, like family events, I will just not say stuff because we could.
Oh, yeah,
like if you want me to say something, I will. If you
Right.
want me to, if you're asking my opinion about something, I will give you my opinion. But when somebody's going on like their diet of like, oh yeah, I'm doing the new, and I'm gonna get this, I'm like, cool.
All right,
yeah,
see
what happens. Like,
absolutely. I run into that myself. I think every trainer probably does to some extent.
Yeah, it's
like,
just hard.
I really want to do this. I really want to like get better. I'm like, do you?
That's
yeah.
That's what I think is, to me right now, one of the most interesting things is mindset of like what's going on with someone and like, do you really want this, or like you might want it, but are you willing to commit the time and the effort?
And I'm trying not to be insensitive to those people because at
Yeah,
some level, obviously they do.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm trying to collaborate with Dan to come up with this really simple program. Like you go to the cheapest gym and just do something structured, and even if it's just machines, like just like a plug and play, like simple, like Excel template where it's just like you just plug and play. Like here's the numbers that you want to hit. Like I mean, it could literally say anything. It's just organized. It's easy, like super easy to understand. Like just go do this. Like people who tell me this, like, hey, I really wanted to like. People at a dinner, oh, I want to get strong or whatever, like go do this thing, it's free, like you just go through it and then let's talk about how it went, and then if you are like for the next level, and like basically commitment levels, and then going to more of like the level of true coach where you would have more detailed information, more detail, more investment, but like you got to start here, like you got to have some foundation before basically bothering me.
I mean, because I want to know like that you have some internal drive to do this thing. And
I want to help
I'm
him.
not
I
driving.
want to help him.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. Is like I wanted to help everyone. Like, so this is the other thing I think about is like if I could get what's going on in here in there, then dude, you'd be
right
so jacked. But so how do I? And what I used to think was like, oh, I'll just tell them everything I know, and then they'll be on the same page.
They'll know,
as
and
me.
then they'll just go do it.
Yeah, they'll just do it. They'll have the motivation because I told them. And now I'm like, no, I need to create that somehow, and that's why I really like these books, is because it's more about how do you like get a little spark and allow them to grow it, rather than. And so finding those ways to like spark something, whether it's like a partner training or like then it like something sparks, like what different strategies are there to grow like, that internal drive?
A lot of it too is just like, what are they overcoming? Like, is it the fear of going into a gym? I know that could. I mean, they say they want it, and then you give them the program, but they're like, well, that means I have to go in the gym to do this. I'm not doing that. Yeah, there's like so many factors of what keeps people from, going and exercising. Like, you always hear time, like it's not. Huge. There's no time. You have to prioritize it.
Exactly.
And there isn't. Like, you have to make it and like own it and like let everybody know that this is off limits.
That's where.
And some people, I guess, can't do that.
Where I've been, I feel like once you learn or once you have new ideas about something, like you want to tell everyone right away, and then you get to the point where you understand it and you allow them to elaborate a little bit more. But one of the things was time. What I would think about is the resources I have are time, effort, and money. Like, where am I spending my time? How much effort am I putting into this? And then money I can accelerate things with, but it's never going to fix the effort. I can't just supplement it. And so when somebody would say, like, oh, I didn't have time to work out, it's like, or part of me is like, what? Everyone has 24 hours, so like you were doing something, like so you didn't make time for it, and being able to
But
not be
how was
again
The
like
Witcher on Netflix? How was The Witcher? You know, like,
yeah. I saw those
yeah.
reviews you wrote for The Witcher.
And maybe that's their only hour that they get. So then it's like,
But then
but what's
yeah.
happening? What else is going on?
Well, then it's like how bad. Where's your priority? Like if you're spending your time somewhere else, then your priority is somewhere else, and that's fine. Like, but just don't say that you want this thing that bad when you're not willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
But it's hard to have those conversations. Like I've been able to have them with like some clients, people that are like getting really frustrated, but I've had to build that for the most part, unless there's somebody that's just, and that's not really happened, I guess, where someone tries to blame me for.
Yeah, I haven't had that either.
Results.
I've heard of some people that have been in that situation,
but that's really, I feel like that's something else is going on.
Yeah. I'm so much about just like you said, trying to get them autonomous or thinking about their own stuff constantly and like problem solving with them, and like everything we do is like agreed upon. Like that's it's not like I'm like, go do this and then they get hurt and I'm like, well, you told me to do that. It's like, well, this is like a thing that we're both like trying to figure out. These are the things that we can do. Sometimes I like to give people option. Sometimes I'm like, all right, like I'm going to sit down and program. Like there's certain skills that I would like you to learn. Do you guys want to focus on those skills? Or do you want to, stick to what we've been doing? I don't know. Like sometimes trying to give people options when I have an opportunity. Yeah. Which is... So I'm like, well, you chose this, so that's why you're hurt. It wasn't my fault.
I didn't get it.
You chose that you wanted this. So.
You said you wanted to deadlift 700 pounds, so I loaded the bar up. You did it.
It's all your fault. I've never had anybody blame me.
No, yeah, I've heard of it, I guess.
I've heard of it too.
And maybe I just think of like, okay, if they blame me, what am I going to say? Like,
what did I say?
That's what I would relate it to.
Know. I feel like I poke fun at my clients a lot, so I'd probably just be sarcastic with them.
What I've been doing lately is usually like either once a month or maybe every other month I'll do a check-in. I'll send an email of like 4 categories. So usually it's like physically, nutritionally, sleep, stress, or something along those lines. There was another specific one. Oh, it was time. It was where you spend your time. And you get 10 points. This was on, ever listen to the Body Knowledge podcast? Kenny Powers.
How are you talking about
Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
Kenny Kane, not Kenny Powers. Is Danny McBride. But Kenny Powers. And it was like family, work, I think it was sleep and physical or something, some categories. But you get 10 points to allocate to those 4 spots. And then you just give that to them and they put them where they think they're spending their time. And so then it can at least create some self-awareness. That's why he was using it, is being able to drive, like, you're spending 5 points at work, like, and it's supposed to represent like 100% of your time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And so you're not going to have that much. You're going to splitting between now your family and the nutrition and whatever else you put in there. And so it's going to be hard to get a lot of what you want if all your time is going to, or most of your time is going to work. And so if you can't sacrifice any time from work, then just know these things are going to suffer.
And then you might be able to find a way to, shortcut it with paying for a service.
Yes.
Getting coaching or whatever, like supplementing.
That's, I think, where I've had a big realization just being a trainer is, like, if I want to learn a skill or do something, like, I could pay for that and accelerate that a bunch.
Right.
It'd just be allocating some time for it. And so that's where I think it's really valuable, obviously, to have somebody because you could accelerate so much. Because think about how long it took us to learn what we've learned.
Absolutely. And I'm still learning.
Yeah, and there's still so much to learn.
I know.
Like, if I didn't know anything about fitness, it would be daunting to look on the internet.
I can only imagine.
And if you want to spend the time and do it, like, I'm all for it.
That's
I love
what I've
it.
done since I was like 16.
Yeah.
I went to the freaking magazines at the grocery store I was at, and I got a workout from there. That's like where I thought you get workouts and stuff. Like, and it was like bench press every day.
So I got
like jumped. I mean, I literally did bench like every freaking day in high school. It was like, which is sad because I didn't have very good bench press. I think it was like once I hit 135, I was like super pumped. I mean, I was scrawny. I was a scrawny high school kid. So I can only imagine not going through a degree and not being in the industry for like almost 7 years. I mean, I'm still freaking learning. So yeah, and I used to eat like crap. I used to eat so bad. I just didn't really, I don't know.
Think about it.
I was always skinny, so I was like,
yeah.
I play sports. I'm like,
fine.
I'm not fat.
Kind of how I was, I guess.
And so I literally ate whatever, but then I started having stomach issues. Like, yeah, I went to the doctor for it multiple times, and they couldn't find anything. Nobody ever told me just to eat better. None of them did. They had me do all kinds of tests and everything. No one ever said anything about nutrition. Like, this kid looks, decently healthy. He says he plays sports, and he's like, he's fine. It's like, dude, I was wrecking myself on like fast food and
crazy.
like who knows what else. Just like, I still have to be pretty careful. I feel like I've become a little more resilient as I've gotten like put on more muscle and watch my diet. Obviously, like I can afford sometimes to not eat so healthy, but now it's not even worth it. Sometimes sometimes it just really makes me feel like crap, and I'm like, I work so hard.
Yeah,
I don't eat perfect. Like there's just certain things I can cheat with that don't mess up my stomach as much. I can only imagine if I didn't have that keeping me in check, though. Like, if I would have probably just continued eating like crap forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's working.
I mean, there's probably people like that. I mean, if you're more resilient, good. I've had some clients admit to that. Like, yeah, the reason I put on however much weight was like I could eat anything, and it never affected them. Like, I was like, wow.
Yeah, until you get to a point where you start losing muscle.
But yeah, I do think it is important to understand where to start putting, like allocating your resources so that you can start developing whatever skills to, I don't know, we're like trying to be the experts and masters of, we like what we do.
Yeah. And
there's like always been, I don't even know what percentage, what is it that Bill Hartman talks about, like the 16%?
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
I haven't gone into too much detail of what that means. I assume it means something about like the people who are like,
I think so.
Like continuing to like really learn and like commit themselves. I don't know.
That's what I guess. I feel like I looked it up, but there was nothing concrete about it. But it's like
definitely speaking
newsletter.
to an audience. Like, yeah.
And he's imagining
making them feel special.
I don't know where he's getting that 16%. Maybe he just made that.
Yeah, there's got to be a backstory to it.
I'm sure there is.
Makes me feel special.
Yeah, 16.
There's always been a percentage of us that are like interested in learning and knowing where to learn or like what to learn. I think that's like really key. And that's what's cool about the precision nutrition stuff. I think that's a good place to start. Like if you're a coach of any kind,
yes.
I think it's just everybody eats. Everybody needs.
And
if you're a coach, no matter what capacity.
At least the only one that I've come across where they are teaching you how to coach.
Yeah.
And like how to talk to people and how people work.
Even how to learn. They like talking about
how to
that.
Learn,
yeah. And then, like the way that they break it down is like, this is the goal. These are the skills that you need to accomplish that goal, and that those.
Yeah, working backwards from. Yeah, and then trying to build.
To have those skills, these are the actions that you need to be able to take, and then in order for that to become like a habit, is it habit then action? Oh, it's in here. Don't you remember? I just like the way they broke
sure
it
it's
down.
action. Then habit.
Because then you're able to kind of like talk your way through it and be like, okay, I don't have. Let's say it's nutrition. It's like, okay, for me, I know I need to meal prep. If I don't meal prep, I don't have the time throughout the week for a couple days to like get a good dinner.
Yeah.
Like if I don't meal prep, so the skill I need is to learn how to cook. and
I need the tools to be able to cook. I need pans.
I'm trying to get better. It's if I just go do it and start cooking, I don't mind it, especially when I can listen to like the podcast stuff while I'm editing. But it's not like ingrained in me to go like start cooking. Like I didn't really grow up with like a lot of that. Like we did cook every once in a while, but it was mostly like for social things. It wasn't like every single day.
Yeah.
I mostly ate out, especially once I got to high school. Like I was so busy, I was literally on the go. Like I just wasn't home very much.
I think one thing that probably really helped me was my parents did cook a lot, so that was normal. And then for school lunches, my mom made my lunch for a little while, but then it was on me, and I didn't get money for school lunches, so it was like you make your lunch or
you're just not
or you're not eating.
That's
and so
that was kind of me for a while, but then I just wouldn't take my lunch and I'd be like starving.
But I think that drove a lot of my, because like then I would just make my stuff all the time, and then now it's become easier. I've gotten consistent and efficient at making my lunch, like meal prepping for the week, of just like throwing stuff in the oven even, and then
like trying to find really simple. Man, the air fryer Janelle just got has been money. You just like chop it up like sweet potato fries. Here we go. It's there's your goal, the skills, practices, and then the actions to be able to. So like if we break down, my goal is that I want to have good nutrition. I have to be able to meal prep, and then to practice that are these actions. Well, like literally just having the food to do it, and then you just go do it. But what's made that super easy is like having tools like that air fryer.
Yeah,
it's freaking awesome. It makes it so easy to just like chop it up, throw it in there.
Yeah,
and food's good to go. Chicken, sweet potatoes.
I think that's a big skill though as a trainer, is being able to break down what you need to be able to do in order to get to the place you want to get.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Because if you're missing any piece there, then they're not gonna get there.
You're right. Yeah, and then some people might have some level of those skills, which is good to start with. But I mean, some people have none. I literally start with zero cooking, nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
It's over the last 10 years trying to figure out how to slowly learn how to cook a little bit better. Like, it's still not something that I'm super interested in, to be honest. But like, if I could, I would just hire somebody. I would just hire a chef or somebody to just cook all my stuff. Because I'll just eat. Like, I don't really care. Like, if it tastes. I mean, I don't want it to be nasty, but
if it's somebody made it though, like, I'll probably eat it.
Yeah,
no matter what.
It's probably better than what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, but same, because I'm really more concerned about my time.
Right.
For a lot of it, like if I could allocate money and save time, then I'm probably gonna do that.
Yeah, if I could just if I could just drink a shake because I just blended up for like the only thing I had to eat to be like healthy, I would probably just do that.
That's
just
how
chug it down and be like whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just not.
It's just not how it works.
It's not. Don't do that. Like you gotta get.
That's probably how. There's a guy that I trained that was like, he's all about that, and he's like, he wants to figure it out. Of I mean,
you gotta spend the money then.
Yeah.
You have to hire somebody to cook for you.
Probably not gonna work like that.
And even then, like, just pay somebody to work out for me.
I mean,
like,
unfortunately,
at some point you gotta do the work. That's
not there yet.
But that's the cool part, is when you do get results, you did it.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, the client always like, "Thank you so much." I'm like, "You did it. Like, it's you, man." Like,
I think that's where. So in those books, Stealing Fire and Rise of Superman, when they talk about flow, like that it is another human drive to get into that state, that it's like addictive, and that is probably why I like to work out too, is like I get in a zone where that's all I'm thinking about. I'm in the moment,
No, it's really nice.
And not worry about anything else at that time, and I can just go.
Yeah.
And so, as much as people want, the pill or the thing, like, and maybe they do for that thing in particular so they can be in flow in this other skill that they want. But you can have that feeling while working out.
Well, what if you have somebody who's like, I don't like to sweat? Like, I've had this. So, like,
yeah.
What do you tell them about exercise? It's like,
just
stop eating. Don't move.
Do you like being human?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't know how to.
That's a tough one. That's not an uncommon
sweat.
thing. It's not like it happens all the time.
I think I've had it before. I think I've.
Like, I don't want to sweat, and I don't want to, like.
I guess I would ask. I would want to know why. Like, why
I
not?
don't know if I asked him why. I think it probably just caught me
Okay,
off guard.
let's go in the pool.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, to be honest, if I wasn't trying to get people to commit to doing training, because I do think that is so valuable for them in a lot of different ways, like the skills that they can build with, like, building muscle, the movement pattern stuff, like, just being able to have strategies to move through this world without hurting yourself is a big one, because, like, injuries are probably going to happen anyway. But if you build your resilience, I got a lady who fell recently, but she didn't get hurt. She's like, I think I would have probably gotten hurt had I not lost pretty significant amount of weight and build strength. She's a little bit older, but she's like, no, I just popped back up, like, before I probably would have been really scared. That's huge. I mean, that's big, that's what we're doing. Like, things are going to happen. Life happens. So, like, how resilient can we get? But if I wasn't trying to get people to personal train and they come in and they're like, I don't want to sweat. Like, I think I can honestly tell them, like, okay, then your diet needs to be like this. And then, like, I guess you just go walk for a lot. Like,
yeah, if they legitimately
like you're just gonna walk. Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, what things could you do to, like, make
some progress? Just progress, right? Like you said,
yeah.
Like, starting to get the thing, like, meet people where they're at. How do you meet that person? Like, it's a challenging one.
That would be, yeah.
So
I probably just want to laugh.
Like,
what? No. Why are you here?
I've been sweating my whole life.
Yeah, it's fun right now.
Yeah. Especially in the suit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean that. Yeah, meet them where they are, and, like, yeah. I mean, okay, your diet's gonna have to be, if they wanted, like, certain results, like, specifically.
Right,
probably not gonna throw any muscle, but.
Right. I feel like if they're that extreme, then they're probably the person who needs it the most too.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, maybe just doing anything, like walking, could be a good start. But then I don't know. I'm just curious because that has happened.
I've had people that, like, said they don't.
We're definitely not going to train.
They don't like to sweat, but I don't know if they've ever, like. I can't think of any instance where, like, I'm sweating. I need to stop.
True. Yeah.
Just wear towels, like.
Yeah.
You just don't like feeling it, or because, like.
Yeah. What is that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's interesting how people. So it's like movement. It's like we're humans. Like, we're made to move.
Feel better when you move.
Yeah, but, like, people are so resistant to it. And I think, to me, that's where the flow comes into a little bit. Because if you can make it not feel like
crazy amount of work or
then
labored.
Yeah, then I can get them to come back and make it fun to a degree. But that's interesting to me how people don't like to move. Maybe it's just because they haven't been.
Maybe they just never
good.
did, or I don't know. We always see or hear about the people who come into the gym, like, this time of year for the first big hurrah, like they have a goal of some kind, and then they go and, like, knock out, like, a bunch of machines and just, like, crush themselves, and then they're so sore that they never go back because they're like, I want to feel like that, but that's, like, not how it's supposed to be every time, like.
Yeah.
So then there's that. I wonder what percentage of people are that. like coming in, just doing their own thing. Because like I've seen more new faces around the club, and I see people practicing things and jumping right to deadlift, jumping right to like the bar, and they would probably benefit from not doing that right away. Like they could get stronger and do other things and progress to that.
Yeah.
But especially when they're not able to execute that exercise appropriately, it looks pretty dangerous. And it's like, man, I really want to go say something, but then I don't want to upset them. And like,
yeah, that's a hard.
Yeah, I wonder how many people like hurt themselves or like,
especially because you want to be encouraging.
Themselves,
like, I want
never
you to
come back.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting to know
really,
that.
because like that doesn't happen ever, especially early on. I'm usually on the more side of conservative with people. I'm like, I want them to work hard.
Yeah.
But I'm usually not like super, especially the first couple sessions. But as they build a tolerance, as they move, like you see usually big jumps in their strength and like early on, and like they adapt pretty quick, and then you can start to push them harder and harder. But
that's why I think machines are so valuable, because
I mean
it's easy. You can see immediate results.
I know.
Of like, last week you were doing this weight, and now this is easy.
Yeah, ask me that 7 years ago, and I probably would have been like,
machines are stupid.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it was. Like, machines are dumb. Like,
why would you do that?
Yeah, and now I'm like, machines are fantastic.
I know. I'm like,
easy spot to cue somebody,
low risk.
Yeah,
like you just. That literally has instructions if you forget. Like,
look at that.
It's like, machines are great.
Yeah. I think that's something over the last couple years that I have gotten back to a lot now. Is just because it's thinking about like the environment and how I could build somebody and get that immediate feedback, clear goals. Like the thing is right here. You move it from here to here.
We're like slowly progressing that,
and you can
and
see
it's gonna
the pin, moving, or how many reps. Like it's really easy to see progress there, and so I think, I've been using those a lot more, even for myself, which I hadn't done in a while, and there's just something about it too where you can just kind of like, at least once you have the movement patterns down, like you can go, you can get a lot of volume.
Yeah, there's definitely a nice time and place for that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting part of what we do, dealing with trying to get people motivated, trying to figure out what's kind of going on in their head, and trying to figure out what little thing we could do to potentially spark getting them to become more autonomous, or just to make a little progress at a time. It would be pretty cool to have a model that way, where you had people commit early on to, like, I don't know, 2-3 times a week, and then they wean off as they hit their goals and become more autonomous. But honestly, I have some people that wouldn't want to think about, like, they just want it taken care of. This is the time, like...
and as far as, like, no, I'm 2 times a week or 3 times a week, and I'm just going to stay there.
And everybody's different, and that's fine. I think some people, one-on-one is a great option. I do think for a lot of people, or majority of people, that like group setting, once they've cleared like a certain criteria for a particular group, or like certain skills that they've built to be able to stay safe in those groups, I think it is a really great environment to put people in. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of going back to the CrossFit thing.
Yeah.
Like building a little community and holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
And like generally we're going to work harder when there's other people doing the work with you.
Yeah, we're not working out with them. That's what Dan was saying.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not working out with our clients, so.
Yeah, so they can stop and chat a little bit more. And like some people, that's a big reason they come in. It's like a social / I can work out.
Mm-hmm. And they're here. Like we got them here, you know?
Yeah.
It's a big win.
The groups, growing the groups is a good idea for everyone. I think it benefits everyone.
I think people outside of our bubble kind of forced to do that to survive in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Because it's better for everybody, right? Like, they pay less, you make more on the hour. It's Because I know that's been happening for a long time, but it's just the logistics of where we're at. It's like...
Yeah, it's harder.
It's harder with the way the setup of our gym is, but it is getting better. Like, as they put more racks and space.
Yeah.
And get more of those, like, machines where a lot of the members kind of camp out. It'd be really nice to have a separate room for just training.
Mm-hmm.
How cool would that be?
That would be cool.
Then you could, like, that's like Willow's almost, because, like, people are usually either doing classes or they're with a trainer or they're following a program. So they're, like, in a spot somewhere, like, working on.
Yeah.
They're not kind of, like, all over the place or camping out. Like, they're in their area.
Yeah.
And so you can do. It's like a lot of open space too, so it's just a pretty sweet place to group train.
Yeah.
But
you're trying to sell me.
Yeah, I was trying to get you to Willow's, man.
I know.
It's like
I know.
Just gotta get over there because it's a lot of fun being around the people who are over there. Not just the trainers, but also the members.
Yeah.
That you just see like you just see like how serious they are about, taking strength and conditioning to the highest level. I mean, it's like Dan, Tasha, Jeremiah, Marcus. Like, these guys are like on
dialed.
They're dialed. Like, they're committed to continue to learn. Like, they have big influence. You see how they like influence crowds of people. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And those are things that I want to continue learning. I don't necessarily see myself as a group fitness person. Like, I think I could probably do like just a big class. I could probably do it, but there would have to be some like criteria to get to that point.
Yeah.
And like,
that's where
so many people. I don't know. I feel really useful in a small group training because I'm usually watching a particular movement and giving cues, and I'm like, cool, better. And I'm going to this person, and like, I just feel like I'm.
And you've probably spent time with those people, like individually-ish.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Yeah.
And it depends on how big the group is, but I just feel very useful. Like, at some point, if there's too many people, like, then it's like almost like overwhelming to the point where like, if I go just work on that one person, everybody else is missing out. I don't know.
I guess depending on the simplicity of the program or the workout that day too, because like CrossFit, coaching that when there's 3 movements or whatever the case, or if everyone's working on one movement at the same time and you have 15 minutes that everyone's working on this one movement, then it gives you time to go around and look at people. But yeah, depending on how it's structured, I feel more comfortable in that like 4
I feel like that's a
small
good
group
number, because then we can still do like a pretty high level exercise where we're pushing them to the point where they're learning something new, or like they're improving their movement, or they're just really being challenged with like some squat where they're kind of pushing themselves but still safe to the point where like if I look away for a little bit, like they're gonna be okay.
They're gonna be fine.
Yeah. And then I guess I don't really have that many people where I'm having them do weight where I need to like assist them, unless it's like bench press,
especially probably not in a group setting, anyways.
Yeah, or even a squat. It's like pretty much taking them to the point where it looks like they're getting pretty. I don't know. It's hard to gauge that threshold too sometimes with general population. Like, how hard is. I know Dan talked about this in the last one that I'll be releasing tomorrow. Like mechanical failure versus absolute failure, and like how he gauges a lot of his powerlifters. Basically, it's like. So he doesn't want them to just like strain through if their mechanics break down. But in a competition, go for it. Like you're trying to lift as much as you possibly can.
Goal is different there. Then.
We talked about that a little bit in the next one, which is pretty cool. I don't know. This is 2 hours.
I wanted to go through one more thing.
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
So, you never read the book Task, right?
No, I didn't. I had it in my cubby for ever. It's a pretty short book.
Short, yeah. Really, if you watch Tom Reed, on podcasts or listen to him, he goes through it, and it's a little more entertaining there, because in the book it's just really simple. So the book is more a good reminder of it. But it's basically how to communicate, a acronym of how to communicate with people in general, because he goes to different businesses and tries to help them grow, or he manages different people, and so he has a pretty cool background, so you listen to him. But it's the first thing, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because the second little acronym, or the second letter, has significantly impacted the way I talk to people or listen to them or interact with them, I guess. So the first one is treat everyone with dignity and respect at all times. Which is like, cool, yeah, good rule. Which a lot of people might not do that, but that's the first one. Second one is assuming positive intentions no matter what. So that whatever action you do or somebody else is doing, that there is a positive intent behind it, which is, I find, extremely hard to do.
This is in the book Charisma Myth.
They talk about that?
Yeah, talk about controlling like your inner energy, basically, and like when somebody drives past you and cuts you off.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a whole lot you can do. You can just get mad, and like it feels good to get mad almost. But they're like, well, maybe they are like about to give birth. I don't know. Like, you just come up with, Janelle's good at this just naturally. Like, she's like, she does that. I'm like, why are you so nice? Like, no, screw that person. She's like, well, maybe they are late for like, I don't know. Like, maybe they're going to the emergency room. Like, no, they cut me off and they're wrong, and like I just want to freak out.
Even if they cut you off for no good reason in your mind, like, so what it made me realize was every action that I ever do or anyone ever does is because they think they're going to get, their life is going to be better because of it in some way, even if they're wrong. But I don't think your brain lets you make decisions that you think are going to be terrible, like in one, maybe unconsciously it would be, but that they're doing it because they think it's going to improve their life, or they feel they needed to do this for whatever reason. And it's helped me to realize, like, when people do stupid stuff that I think is stupid, like, what's the positive, like, what are they missing that they feel like they needed to do that, or that they must be missing something, or that I'm just interpreting it wrong. And it gives you this different perspective of where, kind of like what you're saying, it sounds like you can kind of almost remove yourself from the situation and look
that's important.
it. And so when people are talking about their like diet or whatever, I'm just trying to like understand that whatever they're doing, they think is probably right, even though if I think it's wrong. Being able to like understand that they think they're moving in the right direction, or
because that's what they want.
Yeah,
that's what they think.
Yeah.
So then, how do you talk to somebody? I guess that's like with clients. Like, I'm willing to like if somebody had a specific diet they want to do, I never tell them no. I'm just like, well, how's it going for them?
Yeah.
And like, if it's going well, cool.
Keep doing
it. Then that's like, I was right. No.
Idiot.
Yeah. No, because I never brought it up in the first place, so they wouldn't even know what I thought. Because I was like...
But yeah, so that's been really interesting, and then it's tied to.
If you can do that,
it's hard.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying a lot because it's.
But being self-aware or aware that like I'm assuming they were trying to make me upset, and some people might be.
Even then they win. Right?
And but that makes them feel better or something, and like so, which is fine. Like, I get it. You're just trying to feel better. Whatever action you're doing, you're just trying to feel better and have a good life. Like, it's fine. Whatever.
Just slapping you in the face.
Yeah, obviously, and that's the hard part. Is like, where's the line? Of like,
if somebody cuts me off, that's the line, man. I don't know. I want to get over it, It still really upsets me though when people, especially are just like negligent and like on their phone, almost rear end me. Like there's such a crucial, like it's so crucial that you could like really mess somebody's life up, right? Like
yes,
because you're being an idiot.
And so
and I want to yell at you.
And it's hard.
You feel bad about it.
So then, yeah, what interaction would be the most useful to get somebody to change?
Violence.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's...
but then no, it'll never happen. Like it's just, it's never gonna escalate. I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, I'm sure there's the rare YouTube videos of people going crazy, but yeah, I mean, what I appreciate about that particular, what that acronym is saying is like, regardless, you can control what.
Yeah.
Because then you take that wherever you go.
And
like if I get pissed at that, I'm gonna take it to when I go to work because it was just like now I'm pissed.
Yeah.
That's this happens with clients all the time. Like the traffic and like they're so pissed and I'm like,
what are you gonna do?
You being mad about it doesn't change anything, right?
Yeah.
Like I see it from the outside, but then when it happens to me,
yeah, that's different.
It's very interesting. That's a big one.
And then
assuming positive intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the rest of them, I still want to stay on that one, but the rest of them is S is strengths. Like people have them. What are they? Like finding things that people are like legitimately good at, and like trying to let them know or acknowledge their strengths. And so if somebody, I forget what the examples were, but in like a office setting, somebody doesn't have a particular strength of one thing, but they're really good at something else. Like trying to find a way to like get that to grow or get them to understand or like be acknowledged with that strength. I think that's what like Bill Belichick probably does so well. Is I think one of the things he said was like, don't tell me what somebody can't do, tell me what they can do, because that's how I'm going to use them.
Figure out how to use it. I know he does such a good job of that. He'll find people that you never freaking heard of, undrafted, and he just knows where to put them. Yeah. So that they're effective.
Yeah, and rather than like trying to fit them in something that they're not.
Defense is like changes a lot, right? Like
yeah. Same with the defense and offense. He's able to find find Wes Welker, like little white guy who is leading the league, and
he was like a soccer player.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
It's like he's really shifty and he can get away from. I'm just gonna put it in the slot.
Yeah,
it's like.
And then the last one is keeping people is K, keeping people in power. So like making sure they don't feel like you're doing something that they have no control over, or
I see.
That they like you're giving them power to use their strengths essentially, or something like that.
I think that's important. I think that's why no one's ever blamed me for their exercise or like being injured for their exercise, because I could try and put it in there.
Yeah,
like this is ultimately your program. Like I'm mostly just here consulting, and when you have questions. Like,
yeah, I think that's huge. But the A part, like I think I'm decent at the other ones, or at least more aware. But the A one, I think because in my mind it has so much to do with your brain chemistry of like if somebody like punches you, like your adrenaline is up and like everything's shut off, like you're just in for one thing. And I was listening to Brian McKenzie the other day, and he was quoting somebody that said, what if physiology is just disguised as psychology, in the sense that like what's going on in here is determining how you feel, and that's determining your actions. And he's a big breath guy. So if you can control like your breath and understand what it's doing, you're going to control your parasympathetic and sympathetic, and you're going to like have more control over these things that might drive you like to be mad or to be calm. And so like if somebody cuts you off, like you're probably spiked in something, right? You're like surprised, and so how quickly can you get back
to I see. Yeah. It's huge. I mean, I've been trying to work on this as a mentor too with some frustrated mentees. about certain things, and it's like I feel like I've done a lot better as far as training, if not getting frustrated about things.
Yeah.
Just in general, like whether it's client doing what they're supposed to be doing, whether it's, I don't know, like I feel like at the end of the day, I have control of how I feel about right now being present, and like, I don't know, just trying to, especially with coaching, like there's no reason I should be angry. Like it's a freaking awesome job. Like, I get to help people all day.
Yeah.
You know, they're not doing their stuff like, you know, that's why like setting expectations early, super important, and then just sticking to it. Because then it's when you don't stick to it and let things slide and things, then it's not going the way you want it. Then you get upset.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta stay on it. Like, learn that from Maurice.
That's probably pretty big, is being able to, like, if we're gonna do measurements, we say we're gonna do them next month, like doing them next month, not like, oh, I
it's
forgot.
like, this is what we said. Like, this is what it is. Like, we're having bad. We're gonna rip the Band-Aid off. Like, then we'll talk about why.
Yeah.
You know, if they didn't want to do it, like, why not? Okay, well, like, can we get back on track?
Yeah.
And if we can't, I don't know, I guess that's still a hard part. When I talk to Maurice, I think this is my argument for why Maurice is like the best trainer. If you can take multiple people, help them hit a goal and maintain it, so weight loss, or for over 10 years, multiple people, that's pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah, it is.
And that's what he's done. And they had it in the magazine. Was it last year? Maybe 2 years ago? Of like his clients that he's had for over a decade that have maintained goals. That's freaking incredible. And, you know, like, it's that stuff. Like, it's his influence on getting them to do what they're supposed to do and like, holding them accountable and setting the expectations and like holding them accountable. Like, he'll do it and he's not afraid. Like, he will basically almost tell them like, okay, next week, if things aren't going the way that, you know, we wanted it to, then we should basically stop and take a break.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then that's when people actually will start doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. That's, that would probably be really hard for me.
Yeah, I think it's hard for a lot of people, and I think I'm getting better.
Yeah.
When I start to think about my time, investing my time into people, and I think it starts at the beginning, though. It's hard to go back.
To set the expectations.
Yeah, if you've already set an expectation with somebody and you've worked with them for a long time and now you're running into issues, it's much harder to go back. But if early on I set the expectations about this is what the training looks like, this is how I expect, you know, a client, if they're going to train with me, to what they should be doing.
Right.
If that's pretty quick. Like, you're not following the program. Like, week 2, I come in, I'm like, all right, we're working out, like, how did last week go? Didn't do it. Well, what's going on? Like, you know, like, I can, like, right away be like, well, I'll start charging people for the programs too, so they take it more serious. I'm not doing any more, like, free programs.
Well, I guess, and if you set the expectation, like, this is what we said we're going to do, then you can either, like, okay, maybe we need to reset our goals. Like, if you're going to be doing stuff like this, then it's fine, but just know, like, you're not going to get these results.
Right. So, well, the other thing is, like, I just want them to commit more then. Like, if you can't do it on your own, like, then we go to twice a week. Or we go to a group. Or, and, like, trying to come up with something. Because, like, especially, it's nice where we work because our clients, it's usually not so much the money.
Right.
It's, like, just figuring out what they can commit realistically based on their time. And if this is really a serious goal for them, like, they can make it happen. Like, they can prioritize it. Yeah.
Or,
I mean, that's a skill in itself.
Yeah, I think that's a huge skill.
Like, being able to be like, this is my schedule. This is I will not budge on this time. Yeah. You know, where I have other people that are like, they're just like, whatever comes on their schedule for work, they just like, everything else gets pushed to the side. Yeah. And I've done better with that myself, where I have hours that I literally, like, I think there's only like 2 hours that can be booked on my schedule a week that I want filled. Yeah. Everything else, like, I just don't have it available. It's like 2 hours on my schedule. And I've been getting some initial consultations there. I'm like surprised. I'm like, weird because if you look at it on our system, you just see like he's not in it at all, but just 1 hour. But I am training
That
people at
guy.
those times. I book it every day.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's been a lot of trial and error. I made a lot of mistakes and been in a lot of positions where I wasn't necessarily excited to be training somebody.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't feel like it was worth either of our time because the expectations weren't there or whatever. But all of this stuff has really helped me come to a place where pretty much everybody I work with, I'm like looking forward to being there. I'm usually running in my head like I have the program set, but then I'm like, before we go, like how's it gonna work? The hour that we're there, like kind of like visualizing how the session's gonna go or how I want it to go. I don't know. I can't imagine having another job that I would be that interested in.
No,
I
can't
spend a lot of brain power just
Especially,
thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow morning. I'm like, all right, tomorrow morning I have this person. This is how it's going to go. If it's a group, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to be. And like getting there early and setting it, like I like it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, because it kind of focuses you.
And then when it comes together and people do make progress, it's like...
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I assume that's like you talk about Bill Belichick. I assume there's like some things like that. It's like a lot of... I don't know. Does that guy need a trainer?
No.
They got these strength and conditioning coaches, but do they have like
It's
just
not.
a general, trainer who can wellness?
Yeah.
As much money as they spend on like the athletes and stuff, some of the coaches look super out of shape.
I'm sure they are.
And it's like it's a super stressful job.
Yeah.
They work a ton.
It's nonstop.
But could he win like 10 Super Bowls?
If he had you.
If he had just,
Pat Davidson training him.
He's so into it too, he'd probably be like scheming with him in between sets. He'd probably find a position for Pat on the team. It's like, we're just gonna...
We could use you.
Just go we're gonna run somebody over.
Brick house.
Yeah. Be like fullback. We don't run the ball that much anymore, but when we need a fullback, just light somebody up. Yeah. I don't know. We talked about a lot of stuff here. It's like almost 2.5 hours of just talking about, initial consultation of like how we start to talk to people, going into like motivation and figuring out how to motivate or what that can look like. Talking about forgetting what we were talking about. Going to more of that mindset stuff, though, right? Like, it is really interesting. Because the more aware you are of yourself and where people are and being able to meet them where they're at, like, it becomes a little bit easier to coach.
Yeah. I think like I was saying, kind of I'm interested in that as of late, the mindset aspect and so it's almost like this, Neo moment where he can like see like the Matrix.
Yeah.
So it's more like whatever action you're doing, like your brain chemistry is basically telling you what to do because that's how you feel.
Right.
And so you're going to act according to what's going on up here. And so I forget what it was, but there was like, we're at, I think it was maybe Kayla's Christmas party or holiday party, and just everyone like interacting with everyone else. And I just felt like I could see like, like everything, their brain chemistry is all like different. And like, that's why this person is not talking as much. That's why this person's talking a lot. Like, something is driving them to do that, and then you add alcohol to that.
Oh, right.
And like that changes your brain chemistry or something else. And like just this idea of like whatever somebody is presenting to me, like their brain is probably, like, the brain is like in the state of telling them what to do. And so then it got me thinking, like, can I allow somebody to be self-aware of that? And that's why I've been really interested in like breathing after a session, like calming down with like breath work, or like at the beginning if somebody's stressed, like can I get them...
Make a big difference, man.
Yeah, and can I get their brain to like get into these different states so then they're more receptive or more ready to train or whatever? Because like, to me, if you're not in control or you don't understand that that's controlling your actions, then you're just subject to responding like however it's telling you to respond, and that's based off your environment and whatever internal cues you're giving yourself.
I think that's really crucial, and I think a very underrated breathing. So we have somebody who comes in from an environment where they're super stressed all day, like super wired up, sympathetic. They're just super sympathetically driven. I mean, I've had clients that would like pace, like in between like sets and stuff. They're just like, or like no eye contact.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're so on, like they just can't. Yeah. They can't just be in the moment. And then, I think that, again, it wasn't like I was trying to get them to calm down or change necessarily. It was more like going back to breathing and like PRI stuff with like getting them better mechanics.
Yeah.
But as a kind of a byproduct of that, they also would like chill out.
Yeah.
Like they would like this one dude in particular, he would always pace, and it always made me kind of nervous. And I was just like, man, why are you pacing so much? And then one day I was finally like, all right, we're gonna knock out this breathing. Probably because I wanted him to improve on some movement, like a squat or something. And then like he really liked it. He was like, man, that feels really good. Like, I know he had a really stressful job, and I'm like, we should just like integrate that more into like our warm up and cool down
stuff. Yeah.
And he could like hold the conversation without like having to pace, and like could make eye contact. He wouldn't look at me before. He wouldn't make eye contact.
Yeah, it's
and
super
it was,
interesting.
Like all of a sudden it was okay.
Yeah.
He just like calmed down. Like just like chilled out a little bit.
That's super interesting.
So I think that is so crucial and a huge benefit to like good breathing practices, and like especially just getting fully exhalated.
Yeah. Getting
fully exhalated, pausing, taking a slow, like nasal breathing, right? And like really being conscious of that stuff. It's not super comfortable though at first.
No. You can probably go into a whole podcast just on that.
Yeah, I probably will at some point. I know PRI keeps coming up. Eventually I have to address that, but that's a pretty tough one to talk about because it's so many things. There's so many things. Like so deep and I don't know. I don't necessarily feel like the most qualified person to be telling him. No. Like I mean, it's like not at all. You know, I mean, I could talk about reviewing some of the courses that we went to. Yeah. And some of the things you learned, but it's like I don't even remember like what it was like in particular, why we learned it or whatever, but there's like these principles that are ingrained that I keep connecting back to the neurology, biomechanics, respiration, just how it keeps going back and looping into itself and like and why I don't know. It's just it's a cool appreciation. Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I mean the breathing aspect to me is huge in that
nobody teaches breathing.
Yeah. But same, I've had a few people
What other health professional would teach breathing?
I don't know. But
I'm gonna go to Wim Hof.
I've been he's just hyperventilating. It's kind of the opposite of
what it's kind of it's more like sympathetic, right?
Yeah. But yeah. So that's something I've been trying to implement more is just trying to add some recovery breathing to the session or before we start, depending on the person. But same thing, I've had a few people who, when we go through just some cadence breathing of trying to get some more CO2 out and just trying to get parasympathetic, that they're like, oh, I feel better. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah. And so,
oh, definitely.
But I just want to be more like Neo and be able to see. Then I can see
and then change
what's going on. Yeah.
The one thing you need to change to get everything else to... I don't know where that would start. It's too complex.
Yeah, because there's so many variables that go into it.
Many variables,
But I don't know. To me, that's just changed my perspective on people's actions. It's like this is driving, like, and you might not be in complete control of this. So like, and then that takes me to that A part of the task is like, assuming your brain's trying to get you to a good place. Like, you're not trying to, even if it comes, even if it's coming at my expense. like it's still trying to get you to a good place, so I can appreciate like you're trying to feel better, and trying to control my side of it.
Did you read The Body Keeps the Score?
No.
So that's a interesting book about PTSD and like why people might do things that they know aren't good.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes people like repress memories and like don't even know that they have like this trauma and like the way that it's making them act.
Yeah.
And they go to like, I don't know, that's a whole book, but basically being
like
sympathetic
protective
towards,
mechanism,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's being sympathetic towards people because they might not even know what's going on with them and like why they're doing what they're doing.
Think that's
and, like,
I don't know. I think it's most people like have these things that they don't know, but you have these actions that you're not really self-aware of, but it's trying to drive you to this like protective state or
absolutely.
Things like that. But
it's just survival. I mean,
that's why it's so fascinating.
I think the more you learn about just human nature, the more interesting it all becomes. Like the book like Drive, when they talk about just what at like the basic fundamental things of being a human being are like food, sex, and then like the one that he talks about that it's like basically you read it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like Drive 2.0 or something weird like that. But basically that there's like this, people inherently want to problem solve or like inherently want to like continue to grow in some capacity, especially with that growth mindset.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really basic. It's sex, it's food.
Like human interaction.
Yeah, I mean the things that drive us to like do anything. And like you understand that, it's like, okay, this makes more sense. Like why people are doing weird things in the gym that maybe are inappropriate. Like they probably, especially like a guy trying to do something like deadlifting when he probably shouldn't be. It's like he's probably trying to get bigger and stronger because he wants to be.
Yeah.
I mean.
And then that's what I think. It's our responsibility to not make them feel less.
Right.
Or something like that because we know more and like drive them out of the gym.
Yeah.
I want to just try and. That's the line is hard because it's hard to know how they're going to interpret your interaction. But
well, when you can learn those skills and be able to just approach people, I think that's a good thing with the charisma stuff. It's like just giving people a good feeling about your presence, you know? I think that's super important.
There's one thing Tony Robbins said. I was watching something a while ago, and it was less, loss, and never. That when people feel those things, any one of those things, that's when they get upset. And like those are kind of the, like you can attribute so like somebody cuts you off, you feel less than, because it's like they think they're more important than my space or whatever. And I just think any situation where someone's upset, you can probably attribute it to like those. And then I think about like any like compelling movie, like they drive that in the story, like any dramatic, like they probably feel like they're never going to get something, or they feel less than, or they lost someone or something.
Makes sense.
And then it drives the story. But
and that never happens. In every story is let down.
But so then I think about when somebody's upset, like, are they feeling less than? Are they feeling lost? Are they feeling like never? Because then I want to try and pinpoint it and like try and get them to understand it. If I made them upset, like that's what I'm saying, or if I'm upset, like what am I feeling? Am I feeling less than? Am I feeling?
That's interesting.
I don't know why I brought that up, but it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it connects to kind of everything. Maybe that's going to help me overcome flipping people off when they cut me off. Yeah, I get so mad. Just like etiquette of driving. It's so bad around here.
Yeah.
It just really,
because your expectations are set.
I mean, there's just like ways to drive on the road.
I know. You should, I mean, obviously,
you should know these things.
We both know this.
Especially living in a really busy place where like one person can screw it up for everybody. And it happens all the time. Like just go drive down like, I-5? And there's always, or even 990, there's always like issues. Because somebody rear-ended somebody. That's like that is just negligence. Like that is just I can't think of a good excuse to rear end somebody.
I mean, I doubt they were trying to.
I was watching another person who
What if they were trying
rear-ended.
to?
Well,
that's a good excuse.
That is,
I was trying to do it. I did it.
If I'm watching somebody else get rear-ended and then I rear-end somebody, is that a good excuse?
It's an excuse.
It's just annoying. But it's part of what happens. I mean, it's just going to keep happening until we figure out a better strategy to get people around the world. But I don't know. That was fun, though. I mean, obviously a lot of different things to talk about, and probably sit down and chat about some other stuff, too, because this isn't, like, the only interest or, I would say, even expertise that you have as far as being related to fitness. I think potentially getting a couple people to talk about CrossFit.
That'd be fun.
And different point of views, like people who've been on the extreme end. I'm thinking I can only fit like 3 people in here, so it's probably going to be you and somebody extreme. So I think that covers the spectrum.
The more extreme, the better.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to find somebody who's willing to come chat, because I'm probably, not that I'm like against it. I mean, like you said before, I would recommend somebody to our gym. Yeah. Because I know the coaches and I know their background, and just from what I've seen, I've gone to other gyms, and just.
But same thing.
And I'm still not a great person to like necessarily give the advice about CrossFit, because I haven't done very much myself. Yeah. Just from what I see on the outside of what it is, like I'm pretty critical of it. Like I just, for general population, I'm like, there's some better things you could be doing. But it'd be cool to get somebody who could come, like maybe sway my mind. Like I'm totally open.
I bet I could sway your mind.
I'm open to like not thinking in absolutes so much, and like finding where I could be okay with being more okay with CrossFit.
I mean, I'd have that conversation with you. I could go on.
Yeah, well, that'll be then.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great for you and then somebody extreme.
Because that was like the first thing that, like, I don't know, introduced me to like some of these movements, and like their concepts and their principles were like, you can't really argue with them. Besides like saying there's holes in them, but like what they say is just some of the Greg Glassman stuff. He's a great speaker. He's almost like Belichick-esque I feel like in his approach. Maybe just the way they look is fine. But when he did all these like intro to CrossFit stuff and all the principles of fitness, and I don't know, it's pretty good. So
no, that's cool. I mean, the influence on the industry and getting people moving. I mean, that one is like awesome. I mean, I know there's a lot of great things, and what I would want to do is just bring up their model, like have you read their model, even just I don't know if you've seen it, but and then just say, okay, what's wrong with that? Or why do I have a problem? Or why would I?
Because then it's just the interpretation the gyms are having of this, essentially, and what they see, and they're doing it.
I see.
And so the model, like all models are wrong, but useful.
Oh, right.
But the model itself is like, it's pretty good in my mind.
Yeah, I assume they've done some really good stuff here and there, but
here and there.
I'm really not trying to be like totally against it. People ask about like, yeah, go do it. I don't know, like I don't know a ton about it, but my instinct is to just come from like more movement background, like being into biomechanics and like making people more human with strength training. I don't know. I have a lot of questions,
I would like to do that
concerns.
That'd be fun.
And I mean, I obviously have a lot of friends that do. Janelle,
because
really? Like freaking competing in this stuff, and it's super impressive.
Because I feel like I could, if somebody's bashing on it, like I could, like.
Well, we just need to.
Or if somebody's like all about CrossFit, then I could be like, no, look at this.
That's perfect.
Like
you just be
because
like,
I'm right there. Like I love it.
That's good
for certain aspects, but there are holes, so I could argue or like point out those flaws.
Right? Yeah.
But I could also.
That'll be good. I gotta find somebody though, like ridiculously extreme, like annoying.
I mean,
it might. I don't know. I might have to do a poll or something. So you're like, do you have a friend who's? But they need to be well equipped to deal with.
I mean, probably like Doug or Caitlin.
Like on the extreme side.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they'd be willing to. And I would be interested in taking in more questions from other people about their concerns too. Like, not just me, because who cares? Like, what other people think, good or bad, about CrossFit, and then being able to get down to... It always depends.
Yeah.
And the gyms depend, like, a lot on it. But really going into detail. People want to know. People want to talk about CrossFit.
They might not be... I guess, so extreme though, because they're obviously exposed to one-on-one and different styles of training, so they're
I don't know,
as opposed to like only doing pure CrossFit. But
so I feel like there's a handful of things that people keep wanting to go and talk about is like CrossFit, PRI. At least when they like talk to me, it's like they want to know my opinion on like stretching and like things like that. And
I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's always the same answer. Like depends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Context
like
and what you're trying to do.
Getting the context, right?
Yeah.
I would like to know more context about CrossFit and each maybe concern or thing I have that maybe isn't even a good.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have like you just have some questions or some points. Or other people do, and just try and go over some of those things.
That'd be cool. It'd be fun. I'll have to try and set that up sometime soon. Anything else you want to talk about? Covered a lot of stuff. It'll be interesting to go through 2.5 hours of stuff. I might just even post this as like a thing, go through it, take note, and then maybe make some timelines on like kind of talked about this at this time, that's that time, because that might just be the easier way to do it instead of trying to edit 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And that's
my bad.
Probably just put this on YouTube. And then
no, I think that was pretty good. I really liked I could go into more of the mindset stuff or the